Welcome back to another high ticket sales role play. If you're in sales, you need to master the discovery part of your sales call to make more money. Everyone's always focusing on the objections, the pitch, what do you say at the end of the call? How do you close the deal? How do you tie people up? But really, the sale is made or lost in how you navigate from the opening part of the discovery to getting clear on everything that's going on with your prospects, why it matters to them, and then tying them down in the discovery whether they're willing to go another day before fixing those problems and taking action. So in this role play, we're going to go through a trading offer. Faith is going to be the closer. Melek is going to be the prospect. We're going to go through all of those different kind of checkpoints that you need to go through in the discovery so that you know the things that you're missing that are keeping you from closing more sales, either ending up in objections, follow up, or just simply not closing the deal. If you master each of these different checkpoints, you will be able to close more deals, make more money, and help a lot more people. So without any further ado, let's crack in.
All right. So, Melek, what's the biggest challenge that you're having with trading right now?
Yeah, I have to say I'm struggling with consistency and I also face the emotional side of trading as well.
Okay. So right now you're struggling with consistency and your emotions.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So because of that, what has your trading looked like over the past 30 days?
Yeah, so this month actually it started to pick up a little bit. I made $1,000, but I've been trading for the past 8 months now, and it's been up and down, with mainly red months. I lost more than I want, to be honest.
Okay. So far this month, you've profited $1,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And what about last month?
Last month I lost $2,000.
Lost 2,000. Okay.
Personally, I would have done something slightly different there, Faith. Any idea what it would have been?
No.
In our order of priorities, what's the number one thing we want to cover in a discovery if it comes up? Do you remember I've done this training briefly before?
Oh, is it like what shifted that she wants to be consistent now?
No, the first and most important thing that you should cover in a discovery is any potential objections. Don't leave them to the end. Don't go into your data gathering. If there's a potential objection, I'm going to cover it right now because otherwise nothing else matters. And so what's the potential objection that's already come up?
Should I say it? Because I did it on purpose to be able to actually get better with this prospect avatar. It's the fact that it started to pick up now.
100%. Okay, cool. So things have started to pick up. Any particular reason you don't just carry on with what you're doing that's led to things picking up? Because if she turns around at this point in the call and says, yeah, that's my plan. Well, it ain't your fucking plan because you're on a sales call. So if that's your plan, goodbye. If that's not your plan, then we're going to keep talking. But it's conditional talking. We're not having a conversation to have a conversation, guys. We're having a conversation to see, does this person want our help right now, today? And if at any point in the sales call that is debatable, I'm going to cover it right now. So your data gathering is the foundation of what you need to do. But part of your data gathering is what's going on right now in relation to, does this person need our help today? And the first fundamental thing that I will cover if it comes up, to be clear, guys and gals, this is not pre-handling objections. I'm not going into the discovery thinking, okay, I'm going to check for finances. I'm going to check for wife. I'm going to check for I'm not doing that, guys, because I strongly believe if you come into the sales call with that intention, you're going to create fucking objections. And it's very obvious what you're doing when you're pre-handling sales things. Sales objections. But as you're going through your normal detached discovery, if things come up that are going to be objections, I'm tackling it right now. Does that make sense? Okay, so crystal clear, guys, this is not pre-handling objections by putting them into the discovery. Oh, I've got a list of objections on my piece of paper that I need to tick off. Don't do that, guys. You'll just get more objections than you were going to have anyway. But if you're just having a conversation, people will sometimes bring things up like, yeah, things are doing much better. Okay, cool. And so if things are doing much better, is there any particular reason you don't just play out whatever it is that you've been working on to get slightly better results? Well, I'm not really sure it's reliable, or, I still don't really know what I'm doing, or it's been 7 months of me screwing everything up and losing so much money. One good month is it's just not enough for me to recuperate all my losses. That makes total sense. Understood. Now, I wouldn't say that's completely handled that objection, but it's kind of wrapped it up enough for now. And as we come later on in the call to ownership, I might bring that thing back up again and tie it off later on in the call. Does that make sense? All right. Faith,
Josh,
sorry, Melek. Yeah, you look like you've been wanting to say something for 5 minutes.
yeah, I have a quick question. Yeah, true. Because so the reason why I brought this up with these type of prospects, I do what you just mentioned there. By the way, I love that we're straight into the juice now. But what I noticed it at the end of the call, they still have this thing. Wait a second, I have experience, meaning I've been in the game for 8 months. I have knowledge, meaning I've been in the game for 8 months. So I've been doing something, whether that's being a course junkie or YouTube University. And I have good momentum too, despite saying those things to Melek. Maybe, maybe like I can give it a few more weeks to see what happens. I've noticed like I've been losing deals to this type of guys lately.
Depends when they're saying it and how they're saying it. For example, if they're saying it from fear of the price, I'm just going to handle it right now. If they're saying it and they're, for whatever reason, it's very unlikely, but genuinely believing that, then I might just say, okay, come back in a week. And if you haven't, doubled what you're already doing now, which is what most of our students do within the first 30 days of being in the program, then you're still behind. I'm not going to force someone to buy it, but usually someone would say something like that as you start rolling through the details of the pitch, the price of the offer, and then now they're starting to rationalize, and then you just have a conversation about it. 5 minutes or 15 minutes ago, you said blank. Why are you now saying this? Well, now I'm just thinking I might have enough experience. And have you gained experience in the last 20 minutes? Well, no. So what's changed? Like, just be honest with yourself and be honest with me. Well, it's 10K. I know it's 10K. And that's like 1/20th of the amount of money that you would have, lost over the last 8 months. You could have been making 10, 15, 20K a month, like most of our students that actually put in the work, get the training, do the mentorship, and you're now quibbling over 10K. What do you think is the likelihood that you make more than 10K in the next 30 days? 0%. So do you want to invest 10K to have a very high likelihood that you make 10K a month or more consistently month after month? Not saying you'll never have a bad month, but in general, you're going to be up. Or do you want to go and have a 0% chance that you hit 10K? Again, I'll handle it if I need to, but I'm never objection handling them. I'm just discussing it and having a real conversation. Okay. All right. Let's jump back into our discovery. Keep going, girls, wherever you want to jump in from. I should say late.
Okay. So she just went on her long tangent, and instead of jumping into the data, I'm going to say, okay, so you said recently things just picked up. Is there any reason why you don't just continue? Like, I don't want to lead her into like suggesting it. So is it possible that I phrased the wrong way and I suggest that she just goes and does it on her own, or either she's thinking that or she does not?
Crazy thing is that would actually be a better sales tactic because it's pushing them away. Okay. Which comes across as super detached, and then they have to sell you on why they don't want to do that.
Okay.
Don't ever, sorry, one sec. Don't ever downplay the way you're phrasing things for fear of pushing the prospect away. If we looked at a spectrum, if ever you want to lean more on the side of pushing the prospect away than trying to pull them into you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you said things have picked up recently. Is there any reason why you don't just continue to see if things keep picking up?
I mean, it's just been a small shift, right? I'm just up $1,000 this month. As I mentioned, I'm still struggling with the emotional side of things as well. And I also recently discovered Brad, your guy, right? I recently discovered Brad about like 6 weeks ago, and I feel like checking out his content actually helped me out with this momentum too.
Nice. So, okay, how far do I dig into this until I know that it's good enough to keep going then? Like, I guess that's what I don't.
You would have dug in enough if you just summarize it and get a singular tie down.
Okay.
You don't have to ask more questions around it.
Okay.
Just summarize what she said and tie it down.
Okay.
Be very careful with the summary. I'll see how you do it and I'll coach you through it if you make a couple of errors, but this is important how you phrase it.
Well, I feel like I forgot what I was going to say now that you said that. Okay. So things have just recently been picking up, but you feel like a lot of it is because what you've already learned from Brad so far.
That's good. Pre-phrase what you're about to say, because the question that you asked was, why don't you just keep doing what you're doing on your own? So then when you're summarizing, you would say something like, so if I'm understanding correctly, the reason that you do not want to just keep doing what you're doing on your own is two things. Number one, the uptick has only been small, and that's $1,000, plus you're still struggling with the internal side of trading. The second reason is that the uptick that you had was actually from seeking outside help by way of our free content. And correct me if I'm wrong, Melek, but it sounds like the reason you might be on this call is that you're looking at that small uptick and thinking, well, if this is what I've got from the outside looking in, potentially what would be able to happen from the inside looking out. Did I get all of that accurate? If I were to phrase that, by the way, I would actually say, did I put any of those words in your mouth? Because I didn't, because it's what she said, but I'm actually going to over egg it and get her to say, no, that's actually exactly how I'm feeling. And I'm not trying to do that, because if she turns around, she's like, yeah, kind of, I'm not going to allow myself to have projected that into her. I'll say, well, it doesn't sound like I got that accurate, or maybe I did put something in your mouth. What would you disagree with, or what would you change? But I'm leading the conversation. I'm like, well, this is what you're saying, so this is how I'm interpreting it. Tell me if this is accurate. Now, notice how that whole summary, when Faith is asking, when's enough on this objection pre-handling? Well, enough's enough if she agreed with my summary, because now from opening question to Melek's response to second question, well, why not just keep doing what you're doing? She's pretty fucking tied down from two questions if she agrees to what I just said. Well, I'm still getting shit results. It's only $1,000. I still don't have internal comfort with trading, and I now need your program, because the only results that I've ever started seeing was when I started getting help from content on YouTube, and I want more. She's selling herself pretty heavily from one question. Notice how much more that's done for the sale than if we'd have done what Faith originally did and just go into our traditional data gathering. How much did you make? What about the month before? What about the month before? Wouldn't have been bad, but it's just going to be much slower than what I'm doing. Does that make sense? And that's why you got to be fluid based on what the prospect says from the opening question. You listen to the responses, and then you calibrate where you're going to go in the conversation based on the response. Don't just ask the opening question, and so long as they don't say anything crazy, you just automatically revert to your traditional data gathering, because it might not always be like that. Okay? Does this make sense, everyone? In the chat, put a Y if this is clear. Good. All right, keep going.
Okay. So the reason why you don't want to keep continuing to just see how this goes is because
say something like it sounds like, because you're
Okay.
looking for confirmation. Okay, slight nuance, but you're not telling her. You're saying, so it sounds like blank, blank, blank. I'm confirming this. That's the difference between a tie down using a summary versus a statement using a summary. You probably want to write that down, everyone in the chat. A summary can be done for multiple reasons: to confirm something or to state something. So it's blank. That's a statement. So it sounds like this, and there's a difference in my tonality, and I'm like, am I getting this correct? Now, it's not always black and white, but in general, earlier on in the discovery, which we're one question in after the opening question, I'm not going to be making many statements, guys. I'm not going to take the risk of like, so it's this. And then they're like, yeah. It's going to come across too forceful, too heavy-handed, too quick. Like, we've got to slow down a little bit. We can start boxing things in like we're doing. We're pre-handling this objection. We're getting Melek to admit she's still struggling and she still needs help. But I'm still coming at it from a position of, I'm not 100% clear in my statements yet that I would bet money on them. I'm double checking these things, crossing my T's, dotting my I's before we start to tie everything down. Okay, so slight nuance. And this is what I said to the camera in the beginning. It's these little details that make all the difference into what happens at the end of the call. You could have said the same thing as a statement or as a confirmation. One of them would end up at the end of the call with a think about it objection, and one wouldn't, because one of them you're like pushing the prospect through the discovery, and the other one you're understanding the prospect as you go through the discovery together. Okay, all right, keep going.
Okay. So it sounds like the reason that you don't want to just see how things continue to pick up on your own is because, one, it's only been a small uptick and you're still struggling with the emotional side. And two, that uptick was actually from watching Brad's free content. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the reason you're on this call might be because that uptick was from watching his free content. And so you're on this call because being mentored by him could potentially create an even larger uptick.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So getting back into your trading right now, you said that this month you lost, or this month, how much money did you make?
$1,000 this month.
Okay. And what about the month before?
I lost $2,000 last month.
Okay. And do you remember what the previous month was?
Yeah, previous month, actually, I barely traded because I was a little bit hesitant. As I mentioned, the emotional side got to me a little bit because the month before that, I lost $5,000
Wow.
and I just don't have the luxury to flush money down the toilet like that, basically. So I was a bit hesitant.
Okay. So you had lost $5,000. That made you hesitant to even trade the next month. When you did start trading again, you lost 2,000, but then this month there was that small uptick
Yeah,
of
that's correct.
1,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I dig into how much time she's spending now before I like start putting things together?
There's two things that I want to cover. One is something that Melek brought up that I need to get clarity on. And the other one is you need to finish off what you're doing in terms of the numbers. This is not marketing, guys. You're not leaving open loops with the prospect. Oh, I'll kind of half cover that and, keep her thinking. We've got minus 5,000. We've got minus 2,000 and we've got positive 1,000. Great numbers. But she said she's been trading 8 months. So what about the rest? Now, I'm not saying go back month by month by month by month by month by month. That would be laborious. I just say, okay, got it. So over the last 4 months, you had a minus 5,000, a minus 2, or minus 5,000, a month where you barely traded, minus 2,000, and a positive 1,000. Over 8 months, are you clear on exactly where you're at in terms of break even, at a loss, or made money? Oh, yeah, I'm clear. Okay, what's that number? Well, I'm down by 6,000. Okay, got it. So total for your lifetime of trading, you're actually negative 6,000. Now I've finished that. I don't need any more data on that. So you want to clear that up. What was the other thing that Melek said which leaves an open question about something? Did you catch it? Anyone in the chat or Faith?
Something, I don't know if this is right, but she said she doesn't have the luxury to keep losing money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's many layers to that.
Okay.
Nobody wants to lose money for the sake of losing money. What else? Something even more important. The most critical piece of data that she's given us so far, which is a piece of data that we need to understand, is I lost $5,000. I was hesitant, so I barely traded the next month. But then I started trading again. Why did you start trading again? Why did you not just quit? Doesn't sound like this trading's been going very well for you, Melek. Why not just quit or find something else? Because if she doesn't tell me why she doesn't want to quit and why she doesn't want to find something else, that indecisiveness would be something I'm going to have to pre-handle now before I'd ever get into a pitch. For example, if she says, yeah, I'm really not sure, I might quit, I might go and do ecom, fantastic. Well, if I'm honest with you, Melek, we only work with people that are 100% decided that trading is the vehicle they want to use to make money. Of course, they've probably not been doing very well at it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on these calls. But they believe strongly, without a shadow of a doubt, with the right training, mentorship, and community, trading could make them a lot of money. And it's the thing they want to do to make a lot of money. If you've got your feet in all sorts of different options and quite frankly, you're on the edge of giving up, I don't think we could help you. Now she's going to have to bloody put both feet in and sell herself. Otherwise, she knows I'm not going to pitch her. So the most curious piece of data that she had there was, I lost a load of money. I then spent a whole month without trading, but I started trading again. Now that's going to be a most likely doorway into why she wants to do this in terms of the real pain. Well, I hate my job. I hate my 9 to 5. I have a really bad life living with my parents at home and I want to move out. And the thing that's stopping me from doing that is making more money. So even though my loss of money and my hesitation, my fear was very high, what was even higher was my need to figure this out. And so we're now starting to really paint a sales proposition for this person by understanding the data. Is that clear?
Yeah, I think just sometimes like I struggle, like especially like this is the like most data that I've had to collect on an offer that so far. So I think I'm like trying to collect the data and like I'm like saving stuff like that. Like, you know, like why, like not why now, but I'm like, oh, should I don't know. Like I'm trying to save like those types of questions, but I'm not saying that's right. I think I just like am feeling confused on like when or like how soon to ask those types of questions just because I feel like, oh, do I need to get like all the data? Do I need to get like how much time they're spending, like things like that? Like, is it okay to ask those questions if I don't know how many hours she's putting in yet? Like, that's I think what I'm getting confused on.
The thing is, this is data. So I'm going to draw it briefly on the whiteboard so you can see. So when we're talking about data, guys, we could imagine a timeline, which is someone's life. Okay. We've got right now, today, we've got, 3, 4 months ago, we've got 8 months ago. We could sometimes have pre-timeline, which is like before vehicle. So like before vehicle. So this is when Melek got into trading 8 months ago. Okay. This is, somewhere 4 months ago, and this is today. Sometimes you'll go pre-trading to figure out, why they even got into this thing, how bad things were, sometimes. But in general, when we talk about data gathering, guys, we're looking for the inflection points along the timeline. And there's multiple different variables that can be an inflection point. You could have a money. So you could have, this month she made 1,000. Sorry, this month she lost 2K. This month she was up positive 1K. This month she was down 5K. So one variable can be the money, but another variable can be things like hiatus. I took a hiatus. I stopped doing things. Well, then a piece of data I want is what led to the hiatus and what led you out of the hiatus. So when we're talking about data, what we're looking for is what's going on. And if you were imagining that you're painting a picture and it was a scenery, on one part of the picture, you might have the land. On another part, you might have, sorry, let's do that again. On one part, you might have the ocean. On another part, you might have a piece of land. Over here, you have the sun and the clouds and the sky. And so it's like, we can't just gather one piece of data, which is how the sea looks. We also need the land. We need the sky. We need what's in the sky. And so like if the sea represented the money, I also need to know things like, why did she start trading? Why did she stop trading? Why did she get back into trading? How did she come across trading? Why trading? Why not something else? What's the reasons for her doing this? Oh, well, this is her home life and her home life sucks. So data gathering is getting all of the variables of what's going on right now in regards to her bad situation with trading. So don't get confused and think, well, one's data gathering and one's kind of going off in a different tangent. It's all data gathering. So hopefully you're enjoying this training. Now, if you're brand new to the channel, you can skip this. But if you've been watching my videos for weeks or months, you've gotten value, you've implemented, you're making more money because of it, the question I have for you is, what are you doing? Still sitting on the outside? Are you someone who's going to continue to just watch free content when deep down being on the inside, being mentored by me directly, being around other unicorn closers is the thing that would take you to the next level? If you think you're getting value from the free content I'm putting out here on YouTube, what do you think happens inside the mastermind? So if you know you're ready, if you're at that point, you've seen what you needed to see, click the link below this video, jump inside. I'll see you there. Now back to the training. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Keep going.
Okay. So you had a month where or 4 months ago, you lost $5,000. Then you stopped trading for a month because you were hesitant, but you started trading again. You lost $2,000. And then this month you've made $1,000. So over the past 8 months, do you know where you are in terms of, net profit, breaking even, or your losses?
If I do the math, probably I'm down like 4K.
Okay. Down 4K over the past 8 months. Okay.
So I would summarize that slightly different. So over the last 8 months, you've lost 8 months and you've lost $4,000. Yes. Then I would probably use that summary for me to jump a little bit and gather another piece of data, which is going to really put the nail in the coffin. What would that final piece of data be, Faith?
What is it?
What's going to make that worse? She lost money and she lost
Time.
8 months. Time of what?
Spent trading.
Beautiful. Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to say, okay, so you lost 8 months and you lost $4,000. over these 8 months minus the hiatus, ballparking the number on a daily basis. Why am I saying daily, guys? On a daily basis, how much time did you trade? Why am I saying daily?
Because it's easier to pinpoint a number. Like when it's a month, it's so up in the air.
Yes. There's another thing based on human behavior. What do people do to themselves to make themselves feel better?
Round up.
Or in general, they lie.
Oh,
I spend like 20 hours a month, more or less. Well, if you asked her daily, she'd be like, oh, like 2 or 3 hours a day. Well, 2 to 3, 2.5 times 30 is not 20. It's not 20. So I'm going to say daily because the margin of error, in other words, how much you're going to lie, is much smaller on a daily basis than on a monthly basis. If it's 60 hours a month, you'll probably tell me and tell yourself 20. If it's 2 to 3 hours a day, worst case scenario, you're going to say 1.5. You're not going to say, oh, it's 30 minutes when it was 3 hours a day. You're not going to give me that much bullshit, and you're not going to give yourself that much bullshit. So even just looking at the numbers, if it was 3 hours a day times by 30, that's 90. If she said 1.5, even though it was actually 3, that's still 45 hours. It's not accurate, but it's more. Whereas if she says, oh, on a monthly basis, like 20 hours. So from 20 to 45 to 90, depending on which one we look at, 20 to 90, we're 4.5 times different in the actual accuracy. Even if she'd have lied and said 45, we're now only 2.5 times the difference. So this is about, shouldn't really say this word, but manipulating what you're doing to get more accuracy from the prospect. You are manipulating the prospect, but you're manipulating them to force them closer to the truth. You're controlling what you're saying to make them face reality. And it is manipulative, guys. And this is one of the catches with the word manipulation. It's like, oh, it's bad to manipulate. It's like, well, if someone's lying to you and lying to themselves and you don't manipulate them to start being honest with themselves, you're actually doing them a disservice. Right? So you're manipulating what you're asking them and how you're asking it to try and get closer to reality so that they actually make an accurate decision. I've lost 8 months, I've lost $4,000, and I've actually lost 90 hours a month times 8, which is not 900, but we'll call it somewhere like 700. Now they're looking at those variables and they're like, this is really bad. And they're going to have a higher likelihood of doing what's best for them because we're forcing that data onto them. The truth. We're not manipulating the numbers up. We're keeping them as close to real as we can possibly get them. Does this make sense? It's another very minor nuance, but this is where you get advanced when you do things like this. Okay, so don't say, oh, how many hours a month do you trade? Because they'll just say 20. And it's not 20, it's like 100. So I'd say, okay, on a daily basis, ballparking the number, how many hours do you spend? 2 to 3. If she says 2 to 3, what would I do with the number 2 to 3, guys?
2.
2. I'm going to round it down. Okay, well, let's just say it's 2. 2 times 30, 60 hours, 8 months. I'm always going to round it down so that they don't see, because I don't need to. If it's bad enough, it's bad enough. You don't need to manipulate the numbers to over exaggerate them, guys. You only have to manipulate the numbers to get them close to the truth. Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
okay. So you've lost $4,000, or you've lost 8 months and $4,000.
Yeah.
Okay. How much time on a daily basis are you spending trading?
Yeah, I'm extremely busy, so I only take the New York Open time is just an hour per day executing.
Okay. 1 hour per day executing. And is there any time you're spending not executing on trading?
Yeah.
So good, Faith. I'm so glad you said that, because that's like, well, we're not talking about how many times you click the button. We're talking about how much time are you dedicating to trying to make money trading. Very well done. Very good.
Yeah, and an hour studying.
Okay. How many days a week do you spend an hour studying?
5 days, weekends,
Okay.
and so.
Okay. So you're spending about 10 hours a week total then between studying and executing on trading.
Yeah.
Okay. So then do I take that and put it into like a month, or?
No, that's 720 hours.
So I just multiply it and say like, so over the past 8 months. Okay.
But I would do the multiplication in front of them.
Okay.
Got it. So 10 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, that's 40. 40 hours a month times 8 months, that's 720. minus 40 hours that you didn't really do much when you were on a hiatus. So that's 680. So you spent 680 hours between trading and studying to trade, lost 8 months, and lost $4,000. Even Melek as the prospect.
Yeah, that felt heavy.
Can't bear it. Oh, sorry, guys. Did I get that number wrong? Sorry, I was 320. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
So you've spent 10 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month, 40 hours a month, times 8 months, 320 hours, minus the month that you weren't executing on trading. You've lost over the past 8 months, 300 hours and $4,000.
Oh yeah, that's depressing.
I wanted to say, when you hear that, how does that make you feel? But she already said depressing. So would I just say, why? Why?
You're muted.
I think in that case, why is a little bit confrontational. I'd say, what about that is depressing?
Okay, depressing. So what about that is depressing?
I mean, it feels like a waste, right? Waste of efforts, waste of time, waste of money. And I told you, like, I'm extremely busy. I don't have anything to waste, not even time. Like, I don't want to waste energy. It's overwhelming too. And when you just put it out like that, it's depressing.
Okay. So being that it's been a waste of time, effort, and money, why didn't you just stop trading?
Good. I would have flipped that upside down and say, given that it's been a waste of time, money, and effort, why after the hiatus did you get back into trading? It would have been fine, but just slightly better to now start leading more into the empowerment rather than trying to beat her down. Because we already beat her down pretty hard with you've lost money, time, and effort. It's a little bit overkill to like come at her even harder. I'd have been more curious and say, so given that it was a waste of your time, your money, your effort, what I'm very curious about is you took a hiatus, you didn't trade, but you actually started trading again. Okay. Why? What led to that? What was the reason for that? And you see how this is more collaborative, the way I'm phrasing it. I'm still detached, I'm still skeptical, but I'm not critical. I'm not criticizing you. Okay? All right, keep going.
Yeah. All right. So being that it's been a waste of time, effort, and money, why did you start trading again after your month break?
Yeah, because I definitely see the potential in trading. Not necessarily my inner circle, but I know a few people who literally managed to flip the script for themselves and, get out of debt, things like that. So I know like there's just huge opportunity here and I don't want to sleep on it. But obviously I don't want to keep wasting time and money either. So I'm in this dilemma. That's why I'm on this call.
Okay.
So there is the most perfect segue now. Let's see where you go with it.
Well, I was going to say, she mentioned she's seen other people flip the script. Okay.
Based on what she said, that would have not been as powerful as something else that you could do. It's not bad, but it's just not as effective and efficient as what we could do better.
What did they do to flip the script? Like what did...
Still putting the onus on other people. If you can, the onus should always be on you, the prospect.
Okay. I mean, I was gonna originally ask like what about her life does she need to flip the script? But I feel like other than
what about
that,
her life? What do you mean? What about her life? As in, what about her trading life? What do you mean?
Well, she said like the reason that she got back into it is because she's seen other people flip the script. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, how do I get that? How do I start digging into the personal pain? Like,
I could be wrong. I think by flip the script, she means loads of people have sucked at trading and they've been able to make trading work. Is that what you meant, Melek?
Yeah, and also change their lifestyle.
Oh, you did mean change their life. Okay, fair enough. So both. Okay.
Yeah.
The most effective thing that I think you could do, tell me if you disagree, guys, if you have something more effective. The most effective thing I would go for is, so you know that there's this opportunity. You've seen other people capitalize on it. You believe it's there. Why haven't you been able to capitalize on it? Why haven't you been able to capitalize on this opportunity? Now she's going to really have to think, because she can't say, I don't believe it's an opportunity, because she's already said it is. She can't say, I don't think it could work for me, because she said it works for her friends or people, or not friends, but people she knows. So why haven't you been able to capitalize on this opportunity? Why do you think you haven't been able to capitalize on this opportunity? And now we're starting to lead into ownership. Well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not spending enough time studying. Okay, why not? Well, I don't think spending 4 hours on YouTube is really going to be any better than 1 hour on YouTube. So what would be? Well, having an actual personalized coach that teaches me what to do. Why haven't you got that? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, what's different now? Well, now I'm sick and tired and I'm done trying to figure it out on my own. Okay, that makes sense. What led to that? Well, blank, blank, blank. Tie her down, double, triple, quadruple tie down. Once I've done that, so why us? Well, for this reason, this reason, this reason. Okay, Malik, so I'm clear that you've been struggling with trading. You've lost eight months, 300 hours, $4,000 because you haven't been able to capitalize on the opportunity like other people have because you haven't had personalized training and coaching and mentoring. You don't want to give up on this because you know it's a gold mine. You want us to help you for this reason. That's all pretty simple skeleton for the conversation. We're not deep enough though. Like, but why do you need to do this? Well, I don't like living with my parents. I don't like being broke. I don't like this. I don't like my 9 to 5. We have to get into that as well. So you got to see like big picture. I'm kind of flowing this through from the data to the ownership to the why now to the why us. But I also still need some more depth to the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
my only question would be like in terms of the depth of like the pain, like we haven't gotten like why she needs to do this, like the pain of her personal situation. Like I thought you were supposed to get that before the ownership.
You would normally, but it's just come up
Okay.
naturally. This is the
Okay.
point of scriptless selling. It's like it would be weird for her to say, oh, there's this amazing opportunity and I see other people doing it and that's why I don't want to give up. It would be weird to not say, well, why haven't you been able to capitalize on that opportunity? Like that's the only next calibrated question would be that. It would be just not human conversation to not say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see the opportunity, you've seen a lot of people that have been able to figure it out and flip the script for themselves. So I'm curious, why don't you think you've been able to figure it out yet?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I guess the emotional side of things. And also I never had a, like now that I'm thinking about it after discovering Brad, I've noticed actually I never had a solid resource, solid mentor to lean on.
Okay, so because you have been struggling with the emotional side of things and because you haven't had that mentorship, I feel like I'm struggling so much. So
I would be
can I
curious what
use
she means
that?
by solid. What do you mean by solid?
Okay.
Why am I going
So
to go into that, guys? Put in the chat. Why am I going to go into what she means by solid? It's another example of pre-handling objections without intentionally pre-handling.
because you could say like, oh, I already like did a course or like, oh, I know someone that could teach me or something like that.
Basically, my biggest concern if I'm selling something in today's generation is what, guys? What is the alternative to most people to buying a course and paying for a mentor if they
YouTube.
truly believe this? Huh?
YouTube.
Exactly. Free content on YouTube. So when she says it's not solid, I want to ask her, what does she mean by that? Oh, well, I mean blank, blank, blank. Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you believe that anything on YouTube, free content, is not going to have that solidarity. Is that accurate? Yes. What impact do you think not having that solidarity has had on your results? Oh, I think that's why I'm losing money. So are you saying that if you did have solidarity of a real human being that's working with you personally and training you and coaching you with a community of people that are at your level going to the next level, you think you would have had the solidarity you need to actually get these results? Yes. So my question then is, have you gotten to the point where you're no longer willing to waste time on a non-solid way of learning trading by just watching free content on YouTube? Yes. Why now? So this is pre-handling objections, guys, but not intentionally. It just came up. So I'm just going to tackle it. But notice I'm not going one layer deep. Otherwise, you may as well not bother. I'm going all the way down until this thing is obliterated. She's never going to say I'm going back to YouTube content after this call. Even if she said at the end of the call and it was genuine, I don't have the money for this and I can't put it on a payment plan, I don't have any money. Every day that she logs into YouTube, she's going to be guilty. She's going to feel like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm doing this thing that I've already just admitted to myself and this random person on the phone that is a stupid behavior because it's not solid. And every time she logs into YouTube at that point moving forward, she's going to realize this isn't the way I'm going to make results. Why am I bothering? I need to just find the money and go and get this mentor. And this is how you also then pre-handle not needing to do follow-up. She'll come back to you in 2 weeks' time after feeling guilty, watching YouTube. She'll have been indoctrinated so much every time she goes back to her normal habits that those habits are now not serving her because you've reframed her, you've changed her perspective. That's how you don't have to do follow-up. And they'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Okay. So what do you mean by not solid?
I mean, I've been just checking out stuff on YouTube because obviously I want to be careful with my hard-earned money, right? And like I heard a lot of horror stories of people getting scammed, things like that. Up until I discovered Brad, I wasn't necessarily comfortable, so I just consumed a bunch of content on YouTube and wanted to tap into different resources and perspectives as well.
Okay. And how's that going for you?
What do you mean? I mean, I'm up $1,000, but obviously I want things to be better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So why not continue to just watch more YouTube then?
I would jump a little bit further ahead. Do you think the solidarity that you're looking for to get the results that you want is out there in free content on YouTube, Melek?
Okay.
No. Why not? Now,
Okay.
normally we avoid yes, no questions, guys. But at this point, like we're pre-handling an objection. We're not talking about the background data gathering. I want definitiveness with pre-handling objections.
Okay.
So you said it's not solid because of blank, blank, blank. Do you think that that solidarity is something that you will find on YouTube, given that you've already spent 8 months trawling through YouTube looking for it? No. Why not? When did you have that realization? So if that's not solid, what would be solid? Training, mentorship, course, community, mastermind. Completely makes sense. So what are you going to do? Keep watching non-solid YouTube content, flushing money, time, and effort down the drain, or actually getting access solidarity from training courses, mentorships? What are you going to do? Okay. All right. Keep going, Faith.
Okay. So what do you mean by not solid?
I mean, I've been checking out stuff on YouTube, tapping into different resources, perspectives, right? Obviously I want to be careful with my hard-earned money, but now that I discovered Brad, I can tell like he's authentic.
Okay. Do you think the level of whatever Josh uses solidarity that you need to
based on what she said there, I'm not sure I'd actually go there because she didn't actually answer your question.
I didn't understand, like, Faith, did you just like repeat the same question?
Yeah, I just went back one
Like,
question.
okay. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
I tried my answer.
But like, you didn't tell me what you mean by not solid. All you told me is that Brad seems reliable. That's fine, but what does not seem reliable or not solid about YouTube? She implied something like, "Oh, I don't think they're trustworthy," but it's like, is that actually what you're saying? That YouTube doesn't have trustworthy sources?
Okay. So
By
let
the way,
me
this is a big takeaway for me because I didn't realize that I did that. That means like it wasn't my intention to not answer your question at all.
Yeah, you didn't answer what does not solid.
But I do that all the time, and it's not. Yeah, it makes sense.
Did
Okay.
everybody else, or did anybody else see that in the chat? That Melek didn't say what does she mean not solid on YouTube. All right, keep going, folks. Keep going.
I'm gonna say that again. So what do you mean by not solid?
Okay, and I'm gonna give my bullshit answer just to practice, right? Okay. Yeah, I checked out a bunch of YouTube content on out there to be able to, see different perspectives. I was also hesitant because obviously I don't want to waste my hard-earned money, but I've discovered Brad now and I can tell he's authentic.
Okay. Understood. But what about the YouTube content that you're watching has not been solid enough for you to get the results that you want?
Yeah,
That was
because
a bit, that was a bit leading, throwing in there to not get the results you want is might rub a prospect up the wrong way. I would just leave the first bit and say,
Okay.
okay, understood about Brad seeming more reliable, makes total sense. We've definitely heard that a few times. Don't say that. I'm just joking with someone else says that on sales calls. So Brad, more reliable, understood, makes total sense. What is it about the YouTube content that you have been watching for the last 8 months that you feel isn't solid? You just got to re-ask the question, guys, because
Okay.
she didn't answer the question. Before we move on, this is another thing that you need to be looking out for on sales calls, which is patterns. So on a sales call, you're going through your questions linearly, not linearly in terms of there's a pre-planned process, a pre-planned script, pre-planned framework, or pre-planned questions, but you're going linear based on prospect says something, and based on you listening, based on what the prospect said, you'll ask the next question. That's obviously the next question. You're just bouncing off what the prospect said. But simultaneously, as you're going one step, you also need to be viewing things chunked up a level and looking at over this linear line, was there any like patterns of things that have come up 2 or 3 times. There has now been a pattern of Melek's mental model as the prospect. What is it? Has anyone spotted this? She said it 3 times now on the sales call. You've got to be able to play both of these games at the same time. It's like a chess grandmaster that can be solving a Rubik's Cube whilst also playing a game of chess. You got to be doing both at the same time.
Was it, she said not wasting her, is it not right?
Not wasting what?
She said hard-earned money.
100%. She said 3 times about this, like, my money's hard earned and I don't want to waste it and it's tight. And so her mental model is like, she's got a limited amount of money. She's very proud about it. She doesn't want to waste it. She doesn't want to lose it. And so that kind of pattern has come up 3 times now, which I'm going to use that as part of my sales argument. Sales argument meaning, why does she need to buy this based on her mental models? Not based on my beliefs, based on her beliefs. She needs to buy mentorship and training and coaching because of the fact it's her hard-earned money, because of the fact she doesn't want to waste her hard-earned money. And I need to see if she can come to that dot connecting and have that realization. So Melek, given that this is your hard-earned money, you don't want to waste it. You have been wasting it. What do you think is the most sensible thing you can do with some of your hard-earned money to ensure that you're actually safely going to multiply it? What do you think? Well, I think the most sensible and safe thing is to actually have guidance. Why do you say that? Okay, and obviously you were talking before about solidarity in that guidance. How about YouTube? Well, no, I'm not going to get the guidance I need from YouTube. That's not solid. That would be very unsensible. Okay, why? So what would be sensible? Well, having a real mentor. Okay, well, there's lots of mentors out there. Who do you want to mentor you? Well, I want Brad. Why Brad? So we're taking now the more chunked up pattern of, she's got this mental model about my hard-earned money, very, very like, you know, she's almost, I'm trying to think of the words to describe the person. It's like someone that's very fearful and skeptical about spending that money in a certain way, which is totally fine. We need to buy into her belief and use that belief, quote unquote, against her, but actually for her own benefit, which is the fact that you've got such little money and you're so protective over it is exactly why you need mentorship. The person that's got a load of money that doesn't really care, they could just try figuring it out on their own from YouTube for 8 months, even if they lost 100 grand. They're like, whatever, doesn't really matter. Person that's got 5 grand is the one who needs the mentorship most. And some of you are probably listening to this and thinking, shit, I've not had that belief. I've probably had the opposite belief, which is person has very little money. So taking 50% of their money off them to get mentorship is, you know, that's not the right thing because they've got such little money. It's the people that have the least amount of money, guys, that should be the ones that have the courses, the coaching, the mentorship, the training, the community at the highest level. Like, you know, talking more directly here to the people watching on YouTube, but like if you're making $30,000, $40,000 a month in sales, there could be a case to make that you don't need training, mentorship. You can just watch a few tidbits on YouTube. Fine. Because you're already making 30, 40 grand. But if you're making $3,000 a month and you're like, I don't want to spend $3,000, my only earnings to join the highest level mastermind, you're the person that needs to spend your $3,000 because you don't have any fucking money. So how are you going to fix that with the most basic, unstable, uncalibrated, unpersonalized training that you can get on YouTube? If you have very little money, that's exactly why you need to be spending all of your money, 80, 90, 100% of your money on training. When I was making 10, 20, 40 to $50,000 a month, almost all of my money was going on training, all of it. I didn't buy a fucking watch, didn't buy anything nice. I bought a desk and a camera and a microphone, and that was about it. My $20,000, $30,000 a month was going on mentorship, courses, training, all of it. Because I was like, I don't want to be making 30 grand. I want to make 100. So if I'm making 30, I have to spend 30 to get to 100. It's like when asked how to become a billionaire, the famous quote is, the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire and how they got there is a billionaire was willing to risk $1 million to make $1 billion. The amount of money they were willing to risk on the investments they made was millions of dollars because they wanted to get to billions. The person that gets to a millionaire is the one that risks hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. So if you want to get to 50 or 100 grand a month, you need to risk 10, 20, $30,000 on training to get to 50, to get to 100,000. So you need to understand this mental model yourself as a closer, because you can't force onto your prospects something that you don't follow through on yourself, which all of you that are on this call in the training, you're all doing it. So that's good. But you now need to translate that into how you communicate to your prospects from a place of congruency and conviction. And there's no word track for it, guys. It's just, you just explain it to them. So the very fact that you've only got $5,000, you have two choices, Melek. You can continue to have $5,000 dwindle away, dwindle away, dwindle away until you have nothing. And this is your hard-earned money. The $5,000 is all you've got. Or you could invest a significant chunk of that, and then actually with the little amount of money you have left, you're actually now multiplying it consistently and stably and effectively and at a larger amount, because you're not gambling with 5,000, you're investing 1,000. Does that make sense? Yes. Why does that make sense? Well, because yeah, right now I'm just taking my 5,000, throwing it on anything and throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And how's that going for you? What about if you had $2,000 left, but you knew I'm placing this money into an investment that I know, I understand, I've been trained on, I've been guided on, I've got a mentor that showed me what to do. Very quickly, that 2,000 becomes 20. So now you're not looking at 5,000, you're looking at 20. But not only has it gone from 2 to 20, you've now got 20,000 that you have training, mentorship, support, and community to know how to invest 20,000. So what do you want to do? You could just explain this to someone. It's a little bit soapboxing, guys, but as long as we're deep enough into the discovery and they need this, you can just tell it straight to them. Don't do this at the front part of the call. Okay? All right, keep going.
Okay, so the last thing that she had said was, like I said, what's not solid about YouTube? And she said, she didn't really answer that question. She said the hard-earned money, but I don't think she, right? You didn't really answer that yet, Malik?
Yeah. So now you're
Okay.
gonna.
Okay, so what about watching YouTube has not been solid enough?
Because I don't have a solid layout, a step-by-step formula that I can actually, like, there's no framework, it's a bit up in the air, and I like things to be organized and structured. And also, again, emotional side of trading. That's my emotions. I feel like to get help with that, I need more personalized guidance.
Okay. And so what are you going to do to make sure that you do have that step-by-step?
Tie down the not going to find it on YouTube one
Okay.
more layer before you move on.
Okay. And do you think that you would be able to find the step-by-step plan, the emotional guidance, the personal plan on YouTube?
Better if you phrase it like this. And it's all about one of the reasons we draw the data out, guys. In fact, there's two reasons we draw the data out of the prospect. What are those two reasons? There's two reasons we're asking data gathering questions, guys.
Get to the truth.
Okay, write this down, guys. Very important you understand why we do things. Data gathering, headline, top of your page, 2 arrows coming off of it. Reason number one that we gather the data is so that the prospect can get clarity. How much money did you make last month? 3,000. She has to say 3,000. She has to relive 3,000 for clarity. Okay. Second reason we're gathering the data is for us as the closer to be able to make our case at the end of the call, to be able to piece it all together and summarize it and say, so this is what's going on. This is causing it. You're doing this. You're doing this. You're getting this bad result. This is the impact. Is that all accurate? We can't build a case without having data. We won't build a complete case if we have inaccurate data. We also won't build a complete case if we have missing pieces of data. So the whole point of gathering data is each individual piece that we gather, as we gather it, the prospect relives it and they get clarity. But the other thing is we're taking these pieces, and I'm going to draw this on the whiteboard in a minute, and we're moving them over here and lining them all up. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, and we're building out all of our case. Okay, so I'm going to draw this on the whiteboard so you can see what I mean, and then I'll explain why I paused, Faith. So we ask a data gathering question, okay? Prospect gives us a hard number, $1,000, okay? We ask another data gathering question. Prospect gives us a timeline. That's a little clock, and she says 8 months. We ask another piece of data, and she gives us something about a feeling, which is, I feel sad and I feel depressed, okay? These are all the random individual pieces of data. As we gather these one piece of data, one piece of data, one piece of data, the prospect is having to relive in a silo, in a little box, the individual piece of data that they're giving you. What we then have to do, which is, so this is reason one. Reason two why we gather the data is our job is to take these kind of random pieces of data and then now list it out into a very organized, very architectured, and very analytically clear, like, this is what's going on. Okay. And so it might sound like this. Got it. So if I'm understanding correctly, Melek, you got into trading 8 months ago, and you got into trading for this reason. Specifics, 9 to 5, parents, you know, all the shit that she doesn't like at home. And the first couple of months, you didn't make any money. In fact, you're in the negative. You then had a big month where you lost $5,000 and you took a hiatus. Even though that hiatus, you know, threw you off in a spin, you came back because of these reasons here. But since you've come back, you've continued to lose money, $2,000, and then you had 1 month recently where you made a little bit of money. But the real thing is that you don't feel like after 8 months, the, what should you call it? The stability, which comes from you having a layout, a step-by-step, a personalized plan is going to ever be found on YouTube. So YouTube's a no-go. And you've come across Brad, you think that Brad's trustworthy. You see what I'm doing, guys? Like, I'm literally creating a whole story of all of these things pieced together. They're not pieced together when you gather the data. Okay? Now, the reason I bring this all up, there's no point gathering the data and starting to string your hypothesis together if, as you then are going through the discovery, you forget to mention things that contextualize what you're mentioning. So here's the crystal clear example. Faith said something to the effect of, so how certain do you think that you're going to find the step-by-step personalized layout on YouTube? It's not a bad question, but it's bad in the context of, we already had this piece of data, so why are you not stringing it in? So Melek, given that you've been looking on YouTube for 8 months, now, after 8 months of trying to find something step-by-step, personalized, and well laid out, what is your belief that you're going to find that on YouTube? Completely different context and power behind the question when I take the piece of data that adds context to it. Does this make sense, guys? So don't fall into the trap of, the only reason I'm gathering the data is for the prospect to feel the data. That's half of it, 50%. Okay? 50%, the other 50% of why you gather the data is so that you're making your case of all the things that you're piecing together. Is this clear, everyone? Okay? All right, keep going, Faith.
Okay. So, being that over the past 8 months, you've not only lost $4,000 and 300 hours from watching YouTube videos, do you think that the step-by-step plan, the emotional stability, will be found on YouTube?
No, I don't think it's a high probability. And even if it is like somewhere down in the YouTube rabbit hole, I don't have time to, waste. I don't want to waste another 8 months.
Okay. And so what do you need to do to no longer waste 8 months?
Yeah, that's why I'm on this call. I am curious about
Another thing, guys, advanced, great question, Faith, and you can see how great the answer is. Like, she just gave you exactly what you need. Another advanced thing, guys, you got to be aware as a closer, if you want to be a master closer, if you want to be really fucking good, of like the emotional, where you are on the emotional spectrum as the closer of how you're approaching the prospect. Meaning, there are certain times where you just want to tie someone down and be very direct. And that's very necessary at certain points in the call. There are other times when you want to lean out. It's like a dance, okay? And so you just said something very pointed to Melek, do you think after 8 months losing all this money that you're going to get blank? It was very, not saying you did anything wrong, but it's an aggressive thing. You're just aggressively getting her to commit to something. Because of the fact that that was quite harsh and quite direct, I now want to put more of the ball in Melek's court and make her do more of the work. And the way you get the prospect to do more work is you do less work. So how I would have phrased that next question would have been much more detached, just simply because of the contrast of the previous question. Again, this is very advanced, guys. I don't expect any of you to get this today, this week, this month. This is like 4-6 months down the line. You might start learning these things and implementing them. This is not going to make or break a sales call, guys. It's just I'm teaching you advanced stuff. So what I would have said is, okay, got it. That makes sense. So what are you going to do? So what are you going to do? So what is your plan? Just way more soft, less words, softer tonality, much more open-ended question, simply because of the contrast of the previous question. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Keep going.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's why I'm on this call. I want to learn what you guys are offering here.
To me, that's a BS answer.
100%.
What?
So now I need to dig in like a layer deeper on that. Okay. So I said, so what are you gonna do? And you said, yeah, that's why I'm on this call. Do I go back to like, I think we were talking about this the other day, like, oh, this was in Malik and Zion's role play, like, right, but what made you even book the call? Like, because she's usually trying to use the call as like, oh, this is my action, me being on the call.
Yeah, I don't think you need to overthink it. Just say,
Okay.
okay, so you booked in the call. Why?
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you booked in the call. Why?
Yeah, because obviously, like I've discovered Brad relatively recently. I wanted to do my due diligence as well. I've been familiarizing myself with his content and seeing better results with my trading now, which I'm excited about. It's important for me to be a profitable trader, and I want to get there as fast as possible. So that's why I want to join the mentorship if everything makes sense, of course.
Okay. I don't know if I should just move on to like why us or if I do need to go another layer deeper in that.
No, because she's not saying that she wants you yet. She's trying to play being detached and being non-committal.
Okay.
Yeah, I want the mentorship if it aligns. Well, number one, you don't know what fucking aligns anyway, because you're the one that doesn't get results trading. So you have no qualifications to be able to tell us what is or isn't aligned.
Mhm.
So not going to say any of that to the prospect, but that's the vibe is like, yeah, don't play that game because
Okay.
you're not even qualified. But you can't tie her down to why us. You actually need to go the opposite direction, which is, so you mentioned due diligence. What do you mean by that?
Okay.
Well, I want to see if I'll get better results. Well, that's fantastic. My recommendation is to keep watching our free YouTube content until you've had enough months that you aren't on one of these calls for due diligence. You're on one of these calls to actually go to the next level. If the conversation goes that way, just a heads up, Melek, we'll keep going. But what you're doing now is quite inaccurate to a real prospect, because if we'd have done everything that we've just done for the last 50 minutes, you wouldn't say that.
I actually meant, I guess I expressed myself wrong. I actually meant I've done my due diligence. Now I'm here.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I was
So
going to
now
say,
I could-
you wouldn't say that after everything we've just done on the last 50 minutes, but okay, that makes more sense.
So now I could go to why us then.
100%.
Okay.
But I would tie down what she means. Okay, when you say you've done your due diligence, what do you mean you've already completed that?
Okay.
Well, I've seen enough, I've watched enough, I've got results, and now I want more. Totally makes sense.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. So you mentioned that you've already done your due diligence. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I checked out the reviews, Trustpilot, testimonials. I went through a lot of the content as well. It all seems solid.
Okay. And so I'm curious, why do you feel like Brad, sorry, I've seen the comments. Why do you feel like Brad would be the right person to help give you that step-by-step plan and the emotional stability so that you no longer have to waste more time and money?
Doesn't make sense as a question based on what she's just given you. She's just told you, I've checked out the reviews. I've got results myself. It all checks out. If she's already saying all that, it doesn't make sense why you would then say, so why us?
Oh,
So you've already passed.
that was the why us.
Yeah, kind of. She's already said why us. Now, I would still tie it down, but what I would be tying it down is more like, so you've checked out our results, you've checked out our trust pilot, you've got results from us. Like, obviously, there's other people out there, Melek. Like, how certain are you that we're the people that you want to go with? I'm going to more lean on the end of certainty rather than why specifically our brand, because she's already seen the results. But I do want to tie it down. You know,
Okay.
it's almost like I'm almost saying something to the effect of like, well, why don't you check out Trustpilot reviews from someone else and check out their YouTube content and see if you get results with their methodology before you go with us? Or you could say,
Okay.
is there any part of you that, you know, given that you've been watching YouTube content for 8 months and you hadn't got any results, and then now you watch Brad and you got some results pretty quickly, is there any part of you that wants to try out anybody else's methodology before you commit to a mentor or a trainer? Now, this is really advanced as well, guys, because none of you would be fucking doing this on your sales calls. You'd be like, hang on, I don't want them to go with someone else. They're not going to go with someone else. When you tell them, is there any part of you that would like to? They're like, no. Whereas if you don't, at the end of the call, they're like, well, maybe I should check out someone else. They probably wouldn't say that to you, but that's what they're thinking in their mind.
Okay.
The most powerful sales tactic of all is to not need the sale, guys. If you don't need the sale, you'll make 100 times more sales.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Faith, keep going.
Okay. So you mentioned that you've done your due diligence, you've looked at the reviews and seen our results. Is there any part of you that wants to do that same due diligence with anyone else?
No, I mean, I mentioned, right, I've been sort of involved with the YouTube University for the past 8 months. So I checked out other content creators. I sort of checked out their stuff as well, but I progressed this far only with Brad because I'm more confident in his approach.
Got it. Okay. I feel like that's probably good there, right? But I guess like I feel like the biggest thing is like I'm still missing, like we're gotten this far all the way to like YS, but I'm still missing like any personal pain. So do I just, okay, got it. Now what made you want to start trading in the first place? Or like,
Yes, 100%. Just be more conversational about it. Explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you want to
okay.
talk about. 100%. We've
Oh,
covered, and this is scriptless selling, guys. We've covered so much by way of very tactical, very logical, logistical tie downs, but we haven't had a real fucking conversation. And so this is just, as says, strike when the iron is hot, do the things as they come up. If nothing useful is coming up, revert back to your standard procedure, which is data gathering, getting into the truth, getting into the feelings, getting into the emotions. But if other stuff that is needed on a sales call, ownership, objections, other programs, tie downs, if that stuff comes up now, it would be so weird to just like, well, I'm just going to put that under the table and come back to it. The prospect's like, huh, that's weird. Just doesn't seem conversational. You know, it's
okay.
like you've got a husband and a wife, and the husband's telling his wife, you know, hey, I'd like to plan to go out for dinner. And the data gathering that he needs to gather is, where do you want to go for dinner? Why that restaurant? What time? All of this. And the wife mentions that she's texting another guy. Well, oh yeah, well, hang on. Where do you want to go for dinner? You're not going to brush that under the carpet. You're going to be like, well, hang on a second. Before we go further in the going out for dinner, you mentioned you're texting another guy. Texting another guy or girl and vice versa is the objections, guys. Well, I don't have any money. Well, we'll put that under the carpet and we'll go and talk about where we're going for dinner. Well, if you don't have any money, how are we going for dinner? All right, so you got to think logically. If it was not a sales call and someone brings up something that's just an impasse, sure, you've got a baseline process, but there's something that superseded that process. Okay? All right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I understand that for the past 8 months, you've lost 300 hours and $4,000 that you don't want to, that you feel like you've been wasting time, effort, and money. And in order to no longer waste that time, effort, and money, you need a step-by-step plan. And you feel like Brad is the right person that you trust to give you that. What I don't have clarity on is, why did you even get into trading in the first place?
Yeah, as I mentioned,
That was beautiful summary. I would just rephrase the ending, which is more like,
Okay.
you need to come at it more from a position of you're qualifying her. So something, it doesn't matter how you phrase it, but I'll give you an example. Something to the effect of, you've done all your summary. So the other thing that I want to cover, Melek, is, your motivation to want to master trading, to want to make money with trading, because obviously you need the right emotional support training. You need the right tactical training. We can definitely give you all of that. If we find at the end of the call, that's where we go. But there's another side to this whole equation, which is, Why does this even matter to you? To what level does it matter? What's going on in your life? Why you need to master this? So let's talk about that. Pause and then go into questions. Because now you're really explaining to the prospect what you're doing, and they're like, oh yeah, that makes total fucking sense. Okay. So just frame it more from like, I'm qualifying you. And if you don't have the motivation that I need, we're still not going to go into the pitch.
Mhm.
You don't phrase it literally like that, but it's what you're implying with your words.
Okay. So did the whole summary, yada yada yada. I understand that, you know, that you need the step by step and personalized plan, and you feel like Brad is the right person to give you that. I've got all of that information, but one thing that I'd like to understand as well is your motivation. Do I like I say because your motivation is like going to determine your success in the program?
Yeah, and you
Okay.
need to say that because you said I. I can't remember if I said I or we. If you
Okay.
say we, it's implying a little bit as to why you're about to do that. If you
Okay.
say I want to understand your motivation, it's like, well, why do you care? As opposed to
Okay.
I want to understand your motivation as to why you need to master trading. You want to make money with trading. You haven't just, thrown the towel in. So let's talk about that. And you're explaining why those, a little bit more detail about why that matters. Okay.
Okay. So one thing that we need to understand is your motivation behind trading. So what is that motivation for you?
Yeah, so I'm a project manager. I'm bringing about like 10K per month. So I'm actually not necessarily complaining about my current income fate, but it's the flexibility side of things. Like commute to my work is insane. Every day I have to go an hour to work. It takes me an hour to go and another hour to come back. That's why actually the reason why like the time that I'm spending with trading too, like I only execute the first hour in the markets. So yeah, I need that time freedom and flexibility in my life for sure.
Okay. And how is that lack of time flexibility impacting you right now?
Yeah, that's honestly a sad question for me because I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I feel like our time is limited together because I'm always on the rush. Like I have the schedule, okay, trading, go to work, you know, uh, mom duties. Obviously, being a mom is a full-time job as well. So I always feel like there's like time ticking constantly.
Mm,
And there's another place, another thing that I have to, another place to get to, another thing I have to do.
okay. You mentioned that that's kind of a sad answer for you. What about the time you're spending or not spending with your 2-year-old daughter is sad for you?
Because I'd like to be able to be present with her, right? She's just two. I don't want to rush things. I don't like that like constantly I have to like I don't feel fully present even when we're together. There's just so much stuff going on.
No,
Okay.
very important, guys. Malek is doing two things that prospects do to deviate from facing reality. What are the two things that she's doing? Very important you understand human behavior, guys. Okay, let me draw it on the whiteboard. This is super powerful, guys. What you want the prospect to be talking about is the present. Okay, there's two things that people do to deviate from reality. They flip the actual present into the negative of the present, and they also take the present and they talk about what they want in the future. So there's two things that people are doing to change reality. This is the second one first: timeline shifting and frame or perspective shifting. And I'll show you the examples of what Melek just did. So the first one she said is, I would like it to be like this. I would like it to be like this. That's the future. She's not saying it is like this at the moment. I would like to be more present. I don't know what you are then. Okay, so if you're not present, what are you right now? Now, I know this sounds very obvious, guys. Well, she's not present. The opposite of present is not present, guys. That's not the opposite of present. The opposite of present is my child sits at home all day with a nanny. That's the specific detail of not being present. The opposite of I would like to be present is not just, well, I'm not present. Okay, so the first thing is timeline shifting. Moment I heard Melek say, well, I would like it to be like this. I hear the I would like, and I'm like, you're going off into a different reality. You're talking about the future. Okay. The other thing she did, and they were kind of blended together, was shifting the negative into the positive. She said, it's not like this. Can't remember the word she used, but it's not this. Okay. So it's not bad. So it is good. Like that's what people do to try and warp their own reality to not face reality. If someone says, if you're on a fitness call and someone says, I'm not skinny, that's not timeline shifting because they're saying in the present, I'm not skinny. You can't just say, okay, got it. So you're not skinny. You, in a more calibrated way, you have to say, so what are you? Well, I'm 320 pounds overweight. I'm not skinny is not the same as the prospect saying I am fat. Does this make sense, guys? So when we're getting into the real conversation now, the real truth, we can't have negative into positive, and we can't have what I would like it to be in the future. This is like sales absolute essentials 101. Prospect has to face this present reality. I am fat now, not I'm not skinny or I would like to be skinny. I would like is future, and I'm not skinny is shifting the negative into the positives. You can't do that. So when Melek says, I'm not present, okay, so what's going on? That's all you have to say. So what's going on? So what's going on right now? And you know that you've done something very powerful when you move from this and this into this, and you'll see why it's so powerful. Because when Melek said anything phrased like this, or said anything phrased like this, her emotions were like this. Yeah, you know, I'm not present. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you know, I'm not present with my daughter. Super lighthearted. The moment you get her to face reality and you say, so what's going on? She will go, well, yeah, like every day my kid's just at home and she's with a nanny. And I know that when I get home, she cries every day because she says she missed me, blah, 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 blah. And this is a perfect example of the power of understanding two things. Number one, human behavior, what people do. If you didn't know that people do this, you wouldn't know the resolution. Number two, how do you resolve it? Does this make sense, guys? This is like really going to change sales for you. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Keep going.
Okay. So you said you're not present. So what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's a babysitter taking care of her, playing with her, especially like every single day. I told you, I'm spending 2 hours in traffic. That's a lot, right? And every time when I'm in the car, I'm thinking about, okay, like I could be with my daughter right now, right? I could be taking care of her, playing with her, feeding her. So it really breaks my heart.
Notice she still said could be. She's still not, because Emil said, oh, look at the emotional shift. It's better, but it's still not deep enough. Okay, so you're in the car thinking about playing with your daughter, feeding your daughter. So what's going on with your daughter? She's still not answering it in crystal clear detail. Well, I could be doing this. I could be doing that. What's that, Melek?
She's 2 though. So
To what?
she's 2 years old. So I don't know, like 2-year-olds, probably not fully aware. So it's a bit of a could situation with her now. Like as
Well,
as
the
that baby
two-year-old,
grows up, for example.
the 2-year-old might not be aware that the mum is not there potentially, but the mum has an image of in her head what the 2-year-old is doing. Like, think of this. It's another way to explain this. When the mum, you in this case, Melek, is thinking about this situation, you, if you were a real prospect, you don't have this image of yourself at home with the baby, rocking the baby, feeding the baby the milk. Like, that's not the image you have in your brain as to why you booked this call. The image that you have is your baby at home crying, not being fed, sat there lonely in the middle of the lounge, like bored with some random lady maid that's walking around. It's the painful image that you have in your brain. You don't have this hypothetical fucking utopia of you at home, you know, mothering your child. Like, That's not why people book sales calls. People book sales calls because when you're driving on your 2-hour commute, you're like, she's probably sad, she's probably crying, she's probably screaming, she's probably upset, she's probably not eating the food she liked. And you're like anxiety driven over all the bad things that are happening to this child at the moment. I need you to tell me those things and describe the picture in your head and tell me how bad it is, right? You know, it's a same thing that I did before. It's the reciprocal. Oh, I would like to be at home when my daughter's smiling and she's laughing and she's happy and she's being fed her milk on time. Yeah, that's lovely. But what's going on right now? Well, I would like it to be this. Fine. But what's happening right now? Well, I don't know. I'm not at home. Well, what do you think's happening? Well, I just imagine that she's crying all the time and she's upset and she's lonely. Okay, why do you think that? Well, because that's what kids are like when they're not with their mum and they're young. So that's what you believe is going on every single day for your daughter right now. And you spend 2 hours a day driving further away from your daughter, leaving her behind in that situation. What images are going through your head? How does that make you feel? What if you crashed your car because you're thinking about all of these painful things on your way to work? So not only have you not been there for your daughter, but now you've got killed in an accident because you're not present driving, and you're also not present at home. You're not present driving because you're thinking about you should be at home and your daughter's screaming. You're also not present at home because you're now in the car. And so overall, it sounds like you're in a really shit situation. Such a more real and powerful conversation than I would like to be at home doing blank, blank, blank. Does this make sense, guys? Can't be having these hypothetical bullshit conversations. That's why you get objections. Okay. All right. Keep going.
I don't even remember the last thing she said at this point.
I said every time when I'm, by the way, now I'm playing actually a snippet of a real prospect. Now she's saying, okay, every time when I'm driving, I'm thinking about like my baby I could be playing with.
Okay. You're muted.
She's not thinking about could be playing. She's thinking about what's happening that she's not there playing.
Okay.
And this is not that the prospects are lying to you guys. They're not even aware that when they actually sit in the car, they're not sitting there thinking of rocking their child to sleep. They don't think that. So you have to kind of be the leader and know, well, I know how human beings work. I know how they think. I'm just going to lead you to what is actually the promised land, because you don't know what you don't know, and you're your own worst enemy, most of the prospects. Okay. All right. Keep going.
So what do I say? Like, so then what are you thinking about while you're driving?
Yeah. Well, okay. Got it. So you're thinking about this. So what's actually going on at home with the daughter, with your daughter?
So what's actually going on at home with your daughter?
I mean, probably like obviously she's lonely, right? She must be crying or uncomfortable with a stranger. Obviously, she's the most comfortable with me, and she deserves my full presence and my full attention and the most comfort and happiness.
Okay. So how does it make you feel that your daughter's at home lonely and uncomfortable and you're not giving her what she deserves?
We've got to go a couple more layers deeper into the story she said before we can say the feelings, because there's another slight thing that we need to tie down before we can assume that she has feelings. And that is, Melek said, well, you know, she's probably at home crying, blah, 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 blah. What's one additional piece of information that we need to clarify before we can get into what definitively is going on? Well done, Emil. What makes you think that? Like, what makes you think that? You're not at home, so what makes you believe that?
Okay.
If you don't ask that segue question, that bridge question, you just jump to how do you feel? We're kind of asking her, how do you feel about your hypothetical emotions about a hypothetical situation? Whereas if we tie her down, okay, you know, I'm curious, like, what makes you feel that that's the experience your daughter is going through? She'll probably say, well, if I'm honest, last week, and this is where we're now going to tie into the turning point question. Well, last week I got home and the nanny she had like a weird face on. Okay. I would just say, okay. And she'll keep talking. And I asked her what was going on. And the nanny said, oh, you know, Melek, I'm so sorry that I haven't told you this, but every day that I've been babysitting your daughter for the last 3 months, she's just been crying the whole time. And I didn't want to tell you because obviously I don't want to get fired and I don't want you to think I'm not trying, but at the same time, it's starting to wear me down. Interesting. And so when the nanny told you for the last 3 months, your daughter's been crying every single day, what did you feel? Notice how I'm now asking, what do you feel about a real situation? And it's gone another couple of layers deeper. Okay.
I'm personally uncomfortable. I don't even have a baby, but
You're doing a good job, Melek.
Okay, so how do you know that?
I mean, every morning when I say goodbye to her, she's crying. And also, I also had a chat with the babysitter as well. Like he, she always says that my baby's super grumpy, but I actually know, like when she's with me, she's the most peaceful baby ever.
Hmm. When did you have that chat with the babysitter?
It was last week.
And how did that make you feel?
What?
Yeah,
How did what make her feel? Be specific.
And how did her telling you that your baby is grumpy all the time that you're gone make you feel?
Even more specific, because it was the contrast between grumpy and something else.
Grumpy while you're gone and only happy when you're, oh,
The second bit, and she didn't say happy, I don't think. She said a different word.
peaceful?
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, Mela, you have a daughter that's always peaceful when she's with you. That's her life experience, is peace and happiness and joy, but just always peaceful. And you've now recently just found out that that peace has been taken away from her and been replaced with grumpiness every single day that you go to work. When you found that out, if I'm understanding that correctly, realizing that that's what has changed for your daughter, her emotional baseline emotion, how did that make you feel? Notice the question was a little bit long there, guys, but notice how contextualizing the question makes it so much more powerful. Got to contextualize everything, which is what I drew on the whiteboard before. You gather the data so that the prospect relives each individual piece of data, but you've got to string the data together to then build the story, to build the case. You don't just do line by line by line. You're stacking this, like we say, putting the logs on the fire and building up the fire. Okay. All right, keep going.
Okay. So how did it make you feel when your babysitter told you that your child is grumpy while you're gone, but you know that she's peaceful whenever you're there?
yeah, that broke my heart really. And since then, every time I get on the car, I'm crying. You just can't really help it.
So what's the solution, Malak?
I mean, I want to make a change. Obviously, the fact that this job brings good money is nice, but I want that time freedom. So I want to lean on solid supports and actually see solid results from my trading performance as well, so I can actually quit my job.
What would be the specific number you have to reach to quit your job and essentially give your daughter back her peace?
Because I have some savings set aside, if I'm seeing 5K per month consistently, I'd be comfortable enough to leave actually, although I'm right now pulling 10K, but it's just I prefer having that presence with my daughter.
And you mentioned that you've done your due diligence, you've looked at our case studies, you've looked at our testimonials. How does 5K a month compare with what you've seen our students accomplish?
Yeah, it sounds pretty conservative, right?
So how does that make you feel knowing that that's conservative? Watch this, guys.
Excited to get started.
And how does that feel knowing that you want to be conservative with your money, that's your hard-earned money, and now you've seen that working with us, that would be a conservative goal?
I mean, that's obviously super powerful. I can't wait to get started with you guys.
Why is that powerful?
Because that can change a lot for me, for my daughter, and like the overall the atmosphere in the house as well, right? Because right now it's just so tense. I, I'm just really depressed all every day.
Maybe my question wasn't clear, so let me try and rephrase it. What I'm curious about is one of your big concerns was that this is your hard-earned money and you want to be sensible with your money because it's hard-earned, it's limited. Knowing that the goal that you want to accomplish is a very, very, very conservative goal for one of our students, how does that make you feel in relation to your willingness and commitment to invest your hard-earned money, let's say compared to if you were looking to accomplish something by investing your hard-earned money with a goal that was possible with something else, but a stretch? How does it
Yeah,
make you feel in regards to making this decision?
yeah, way more comfortable. I don't
Why?
think, because as we mentioned, it's realistic, right? It's conservative. I'm not necessarily aiming for the sky to actually make a huge change here. So that's why I'm excited to get started.
And so what does that do to your certainty and decisiveness to be able to make this investment?
Yeah, I am 100% certain. Obviously, I want to hear about the details,
Sure.
but I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Got it. You see what I'm doing, guys? It was in my back pocket. I may have used it. I may have never used it, but I've got this thing in my head, which is this woman has a pattern of talking about the hard-earned money and being safe with it and being sensible with it. She now brings up conservative, which was all tied together from results, their conservative results tied back to her 5K goal. How does that compare to our results? It's conservative. Well, you mentioned that you're a conservative person. So how does the conservative results that you want to accomplish compare to your conservative way of being? And she's like, oh shit. Like, and like, there's a thing in sales, they call it breaking the fourth wall. I'm sure most of you have heard that before. Breaking the fourth wall is something you can do literally. Like, hey, I'm a salesperson. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. That's a literal way to break the fourth wall. But there's a non-literal way to break the fourth wall, which is the prospects are seeing what you're doing, not as a salesperson, but they're just seeing it and being like, holy shit, that was smart. And I've said it before, guys, when they see you as smart, they assume the business owner is smart and they assume the product and the service and the fulfillment is going to be equally as great. So I'm not saying you have to try and be smart, but be smart naturally because you're keeping track of what's going on. And the more you do this, after a year of doing it, after 2 years of doing it, 3, 4 like me, 5 years like me, it just becomes second nature. I'm not even trying to remember, oh, I've got this little piece to the jigsaw puzzle. I'm going to like fit it in over there in 10 minutes time. I'm not even thinking, guys. Like I could do this with my eyes closed now. And that just comes with time. Just comes with time. But it comes with that time invested in learning the basics brick by brick by brick by brick. The foundation of the basics is we've got to data gather. Second foundation to the basics is we've got to get the prospect to take ownership. Third foundation to the basics, which can sometimes come first, is pre-handle any objections as and when they come up. As you start getting these base foundations together, you can then drop in some of these advanced things. Okay? All right, guys, we are pretty much on time. And I know usually we have feedback and questions, and we've got so much for all of you to train on and practice. I'm thinking about timing out there. Unless Faith or Melek, you want to keep going a little bit longer, or do you want to jump out and do Q&A and takeaways?
I have a few questions.
Well, we'll do questions if we jump out. My question is, do you want to carry on role playing a bit longer, or do you want to jump out?
I think I'm sold.
Okay.
Right.
I think
yeah,
we've got so many different things, guys. Otherwise, I'll just overwhelm you with like, okay, well, what's next? Well, quite frankly, what's next is you might go 2 or 3 layers deeper into the daughter. What are we then going to transition into from there after we've gone vertical?
Horizontal.
Got it. So this is, you're going to work every single day sitting in the car crying, knowing that your daughter doesn't have her peace. I'm curious, Melek, you know, how long has this been going on for? 6 months. Well, she can't say 6 months because, well, there's an interesting thing now, which is she wasn't aware of the daughter until a week ago. So I would want to also know, okay, so you found out from the babysitter a week ago. Was it affecting you in any way? Did you have any thoughts, feelings, imaginations of things before you found out? Oh, yeah, I had an intuition, mother's intuition. Okay, and what was your intuition? Well, I thought my daughter is crying, but okay, well, if you thought that, why did you not do anything? Honestly, Josh, I was just rationalizing and saying it's probably not real. I don't want to imagine that I'm a bad mom, blah, 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 blah. But then the babysitter told me literally that's what's happening. And it was impossible for me to deny it anymore. Okay, got it. So for how long have you been having these bad feelings of being a bad mom? This is what might be happening with your daughter, blah, blah, blah. 8 months. Okay. So 8 months of feeling that way. And you mentioned crying recently every day in the car. What impact, if anything, has it been having on the other areas of your life? Well, I've been putting on weight. I've not been dating because I don't feel like I have time to date if I can't even have time to be a good mom. I feel guilty about that. I'm not socializing my friends because when I do get home, I'm trying to spend 30 minutes bathing my daughter and spending a little bit of time with her because I know I'm basically rejecting her and abandoning her all day long. Got it. So when you say you don't have a social life, what's actually going on? Well, I don't have any friends. I don't do anything. I don't enjoy my life. Boom, boom, boom. We cover all the horizontal. Probably go a little bit deeper into feelings there because now we've got vertical and horizontal. So if I'm understanding correctly, your daughter feels this way, which makes you feel this way. You don't have a social life. You're not taking care of your fitness. You're not dating. How does that make you feel? So combining all this together, Melek, like life day to day for you, how is it? It's abysmal. My heart's broken in every way. You know, as a mother, as a human being, as someone that would like a partner, as someone that used to like to take care of myself. I'm just heartbroken. Understood. So my question is, how much longer are you willing to have your own heart broken and your daughter's heart broken in every single area of your life because you haven't been able to get the step-by-step, personalized, laid out plan for how to master trading and make $5,000 a month, which, as you said, is an extremely conservative goal, given the results you've seen from us that you've already done your due diligence on. How many more days are you willing to drive out of the house in the car crying, knowing that not only are you putting your daughter in this unpeaceful situation where she's grumpy, but also you're not figuring out a solution? Not another day. Got it. Makes total sense. Right. So we just tie it down at the end with the horizontal, other areas of life, wrapping it all up, doing what I was doing on the whiteboard before on the right-hand side, where I was saying, you're taking the data and you're creating a narrative of everything tied together. And that summary either blends into your how much longer question, or you do the summary, get confirmation, and then you ask how much longer. And that's how it all wraps up at the end. Is that clear? Okay. All right, let's jump out of this and go into Q&A, takeaways, and feedback. So as usual, guys, if you have takeaways, feedback, or questions, put your hand up. I'll start with Melek because she said she had stuff to go through. And if anybody else has anything, put your hand up. All right, Melek.
Yeah, Josh, my question was when you mentioned that whole timeline shifting, frame shifting, that was insanely powerful for me, definitely something to study. This lady that I was trying to play, she actually also at one point mentioned as one of her biggest driver is that she doesn't want this to continue because as the baby gets older, she would need to, find an aftercare, this, that, like the baby would need to constantly be at some type of school or some type of care. So that was a big anxiety for her. So that was kind of a could be. Do you think, like, if I brought her up here, like, would you actually dig on that or would you still like focus more on the now?
It would be like a tertiary satellite thing to the extent of like, got it. So the thing that's a real issue right now is right now, you're not present at home. Your daughter's grumpy. You can't make enough money to, get out of that situation. But coming up is this situation is going to get worse. If you don't get out of trading now and you don't actually learn how to make money in a different way where you have time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, your situation is actually going to get even worse. Is that accurate? Because of the babysitting, aftercare, all of that stuff. So it would be like a secondary thing that I'll chop on to the end of anything, but it's not going to be my main focus.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that was my definitely biggest takeaway. Another takeaway, the dinner date example, right? Pre-handles. Obviously, like if you're bringing something out so absurd, we have to dig into that. Have a skeptical approach, not critical. And also one quick question too, Josh, because this prospect said like I've been trading for 8 months. You asked, okay, like are you clear on the results of your lifetime trading? When prospects hop on and if they have like 5 years of experience, would you still ask that? It's a quite like with 8 months experience, it was easy to come up with a number, but when the experience is long, it's kind of tricky.
I would probably do the last year
Okay.
as a number, and then I would probably want to say 5 years more as a like, okay, so the last year you're down $10,000. Lifetime trading for you, which is 5 years, how's that been going? Well, to be honest, I had a few good bits, a few bad bits. I'm not going to dig into the numbers of 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's too far away. But I do want a general consensus of like, I've been doing this for 5 years, and quite frankly, I've never made any real money. Okay, understood. You've never made any real money, and the last year specifically is down 5,000. Is that accurate? Yes. I probably don't need details of 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my last and probably one of the biggest takeaways, Josh, is when you said, when you told Faith to ask, okay, why haven't you capitalized on this opportunity? I was about to ask you, but Josh, isn't that repetitive with asking what is the biggest challenge you're having right now? And then you said that is an ownership question. And all this time I'm like, fuck, I feel like I'm not good enough when it comes to getting the ownership because I always thought it was repetitive, I guess. Like, okay, that was a big light bulb moment for me.
Great. Yeah, the ownership's key, guys, and you can't really do too much ownership. Even if it sounds like you're repeating things, it's better to be definitive that the prospect knows. I haven't got the results I want for this reason. I haven't had this thing because of this reason. And then you could transition into why us? Can we get you that reason? And why now? Okay. All right. Looks like we've only got one person with takeaways, questions, or feedback. Should we cancel roleplay week, guys? If it's not that useful, we don't have to do it.
Can I do mine first because I have only a couple minutes till I have to hop off?
Of course you can, Faith. Go for it.
Well, one, I feel like I know this is not how I'm supposed to feel, but I feel like worse now that we did this, but just because I feel like there was like not one question or like two back to back that I got through, but like I guess it's also like very eye-opening, but I feel like I've never taken a sales call before, which is like an interesting feeling. But anyways, I think the biggest things for me is like obviously I know it's scriptless, but I think in my head I still like picture like the 6 quadrants. And even though I'm not asking scripted questions, I think I am pushing things back into like whatever quadrant I think they should be. So yeah, like we got like ownership before the pain, or like even like the why us topic before the pain. Like to me, I'm like always pushing those things off, or like you said, brushing them under the rug, because I'm like, oh, that's supposed to like kind of be the wrapping up of the sales call. So that was huge for me. Another thing is just like how deep you're going on every single thing. Like I think I'll hit each topic like a layer or two, or to me I'm like, oh, you lost like, you know, whatever, 45, 60. Like I have people that say they lost $60,000, and to me I'm like, oh, that's enough personal pain for you to, act. And it's like I'm not getting deep enough into those things. So going multiple layers deep. And then something else was like you said at one point, I was like being too hard on her. Like I need to empower her a little bit. That's huge because to me, I'm like, oh, like the worse they feel, that's what they need to buy. And I think I probably go too hard at some of those things without ever giving them that empowerment back.
So let's dig into that last one, and I might dig into the others, but great takeaways. The reason that we have to move the emotions is because imagine if you're watching a movie that was like a sad movie. Sure, getting the viewer in the audience at the cinema to feel sad is whatever the goal is if that's a sad movie. But if you're just crying for 90 minutes straight, you're not going to enjoy the movie. You're going to check out. You're going to go numb. You're not going to feel anything. So yes, the intensity of these emotions is very powerful, but you can't break someone to the point where they go into being numb. If they're just numb, then all of the good stuff you did to get them into those emotions is worthless. You got to be able to sense when you're pulling someone's emotions up to a certain level, and then you're like, okay, it's going to tip over here. I'm gonna come back down a little bit and move the emotions a little bit. And you keep doing that, okay? So you just got to be aware of that. Now, the other bit I want to point out is you said, I feel like I've never been on a sales call before. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you want to be the best, guys, if you want to be like really, really, really good at sales, you're going to be learning advanced things. And even to this day, 5 years later, if I send UM a screenshot of something I'm texting, or, like a message I'm going to send a student, and I'll say, what do you think of this? He will literally reply and be like, well, I can't tell you the language he uses because it's politically inappropriate, but he'll say something like absolute bullshit, like just terrible. And I look at the response and I'm like, fuck, I thought that was really good copywriting. I thought that was good. And even 5 years later, I'm like, I feel like I've never written a piece of copy in my entire life or understand anything about human beings, because I thought I understood. And then I'll send something to UM and I'll be like, shit, I clearly don't have a clue what I'm doing. And that's just about the levels. Like the level that you're at, Faith, compared to a lot of basic closers is much higher than them. But compared to the level that UM's at or that I'm at, of course, you're going to prospectively feel like, I've never taken a sales call ever again. But when you feel that, realize that the gap is your opportunity for all the money that you're not making right now. If you hopped on one of these calls and you're like, okay, like I was doing some things good and I was doing some things okay and I was doing a couple of things bad. Well, let's say you're making 10K a month. Your growth opportunity is 15K. Like that would be the difference in your earning potential. Whereas if you hop on this call and you're at 10K and you hear me give you 16 different things you can do, it's like, yeah, Faith, that would be you making 100K a month. So you should look at it as like, holy shit, if I just slowly month by month, look at Jacob, whatever he was making when he joined a year ago, 10K, 5K, now he's past 50K a month in a year. It's like all of those things, you don't have to do all of them at once, but each one of them is 2K here, 5K there, 2K there, 3K there, another 10K here. And it's each of those different things that is money that will just fall into your pocket. So look at that as a positive, okay?
Yeah. Thank
All right.
you.
You're very, very welcome. All right, let's go into questions, guys. Faith, Melek, if either of you need to go, just bounce. That's totally fine. All right, let's go with Kevin. All right, so Kevin, Chris, Odrum, Jordan, Martin. All right, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, bro, hope you're good. Bro,
Fantastic.
well, amazing. Two big takeaways, bro. This is really, really big for me. It's the way you catch the subtleness of two things: objections and hypotheticals. Because some of the things she said, like she said, a few things that stood out. She's like, I've been wasting money and effort. For me, I would have been like, oh, great, like she's in pain or she's reliving pain. But for you, it was like, no, that could be an objection, because if you're wasting money and effort, like why continue? Yeah, sorry about the line. Why continue? So then you had to ask the question around that, which is, I'm getting to the end of calls thinking like, what was done wrong there? But now I'm seeing you do these things. I'm like, oh, that's where it went wrong. No. And then the next one was when she said about solid mentorship. For me, again, I would have been like, oh, great, she's searching for solid mentorship. This is what we do. We have solid mentorship. But then for you, it was like, okay, but what is solid mentorship? Because that could just be YouTube. So she could get to the end of the call and she'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to carry on with a solid mentorship on YouTube. So I was like, wow, like that's big. So a question I have for you is, I know you're saying like obviously through time and through repetition, what would you say is the one biggest thing that is going to speed up the time that you can catch these a lot quicker?
Fantastic question. The number one thing that will speed up the time it takes you to spot these things is ditching having an agenda. If you're on the call and you have an agenda, you're not going to see what's in front of you because you're already seeing your pre-planned agenda. This is my next question. This is my next thing. This is my next part of my process. This is the next part of the framework. So you're like the person that has something right in front of them, but you just can't see it because your eyes are already glazed over with something else that you're seeing. When you ditch any agenda and you're like, well, I don't have anything else to fall back on, so I better just look at the prospect and ask them and understand and see what's going on, your only coping mechanism is to truly understand because you don't have anything else to fall back on. So it's like people say, jump in at the deep end, which is what taught me, no questions, just talk to someone. And I was like, well, what am I going to say? And he was like, well, you'll figure it out. It's like, okay, well, I didn't have anything else to go on. So I had to try and be, as Carl Jung says, the fool precedes the master. In other words, if you're not willing to be a fool, if you're not willing to be stupid and come across as an idiot, you'll never become a master. The first foundational step to mastering something is to just jump in at the deep end and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. But jumping in at the deep end and then trying to have a pre-planned solution, well, you're never going to learn to swim yourself. You're just sitting there with armbands on, just floating. You're never going to learn to swim. So ditching any agenda is the number one way.
Yeah.
Quickest
Makes
way.
sense.
All
Got
right.
you. Appreciate it.
A pleasure, mate. Pleasure. All right, Chris. Bring up Chris. Brandon as well. If anybody else has anything, guys, put your hand up.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. What's up, man? So what I notice is when people go into imagination loops and avoid the reality, and how you get them back in the reality loop. That was huge for me. When the mental models too. So I'll do like, all right, is this person growth mindset, fixed mindset, GMS, FMS? But there's other mental model loops within like growth mindset and fixed mindset. So that was a huge takeaway for me. It's like timeline shifting, frame shifting. And I know once I understand the mental model stuff, things are going to slow down for me. And I can feel it that it's coming. And I'm excited about that too as well. So the vision is coming through a little bit more. The other takeaway was sometimes saying less is actually way more.
Yeah.
And so that you give them the space to express themselves. Do less so they have the pleasure of doing more.
Love that.
So those are the two takeaways for me.
Brilliant takeaways. All right, let's bring up Odrum.
Nice one. I thought I was gone. Good stuff. Chris, I just want to say real quick, just in regards to yourself. Last week when you were on the role play, your summaries are excellent, man. I know you can't respond, but every time you say something, I'm like, he put that really well. And then I wrote it down. So that was cool. Now my main takeaways today, I don't really have much questions to be honest, Josh. The big thing is with what Faith is experiencing, it's this constant learning and unlearning process. Like, because she seems to be a veteran in the space, and it's interesting to see that she came on and was completely humbled by her process today. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but she obviously does, you know. So it's just very interesting to observe that because it makes people seem more humane. And I think it allows
Mm,
everyone a chance to kind of recognize that we will have these loops of I am on top of the world and holy shit, I need to learn again. It ties back to, I think it's number 4 or number 5 of the Ten Commandments. I'm not sure, but I'm just seeing these showing up constantly as I'm reading them. The second one is always adding context to questions for specificity. So
yeah.
essentially what I'm picking up is that we get a more accurate response because we're not generalizing. And I think
Mhm.
it ties into the third realization, which is taking time to scan more potentials for context, even when we think that we're done. So that had actually come up with, I think what Kevin was saying. I think Faith had actually said that as well. It's quite interesting because you think that you've got them, you know, oh, you're actually interested and you're looking for a mentor. Perfect, this is what we've got. But instead of trying to sell them and jump to the end and take their money, you're like, well, I need to understand what it is that they're truly think that they're getting themselves into. And
Yeah.
this is where I'm learning, this is where I'm figuring out the questions that I'm yet to ask. But that was the main takeaways. And Kevin, I appreciate the question that you asked there too, because I didn't know how to ask it. Just about understanding how to evolve at a more efficient rate. So I just wrote down must ditch having an agenda. It really lets us be more curious, essentially. Yeah.
I'll tie that, which I said to Kevin and seems to have landed with you, into something else that you said, and they kind of both meet in the middle. So what you brought up was, faith being humbled, which I think is a great example. And you said, that from your perspective and probably from Faith's perspective as well, that being in that position where you're like, I don't know anything, I don't know what I'm doing, is humanizing, but it's also going to give you the opportunity to grow. And you've probably heard this saying before, which is if you're the smartest person in the room, you've stopped growing. You shouldn't be in a room, guys, where you're like, oh, I knew 80, 90% of what's in there. Because as I said to Faith, the gap of how uncompetent you feel to how competent the person is that's training you, that's your earning potential gap. If that gap is very small, why the fuck are you paying $3,000 a month to be here? You pay 3,000 because hopefully, if I can say so myself, you pay 3,000, which is like this much from where you're at, and you watch me train you and you're like, oh shit, there's like $97,000 left that I could be earning on per month extra if I did everything that Josh is telling me. And as I said at the end of this role play, guys, I cut the role play because I was like, I could probably still give you all another 3 to 5 things, but you've got 15 things to implement, and that's enough. And if you're implementing or listening to those things to implement and thinking, holy shit, there's so much for me to do, that should be a good thing because that's why you invest 3K to have the opportunity of whatever that is, a 33x return on your income if bit by bit you keep adding these things in. Now, the other reason I bring that up is as far as being the smartest person in the room, is it's so important that you never allow yourself to go into some type of training, mastermind, event, whatever, and when you walk into that place, whether it's virtually or literally, you're like, oh well, I'm just going to keep doing things the way that I've been doing them. Well, then why are you going into that environment to try and learn? Because you're now blocking yourself from being able to absorb the new things. And there are so many people that do this, guys. Like if you join a business mastermind, whatever, the people because you see them from a mile away when you start to understand people, they walk in and they're like the head honcho and they're like, well, I already know what I'm doing. And it's like, well, why have you paid to be in this business mastermind or this sales mastermind or this training if you are going to stick to, I already know what I'm doing? Because then you're not going to learn anything. And so they've paid for a trainer or they've paid for a mentor, And then they go through the course or they go through the advice of the mentor and they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that this way. I'm going to change this a little bit. I probably won't bother doing that. I'll do this instead. And I'll do this thing in addition that isn't been advised to me. It's like, so you've just invested for this plan of someone else that's doing better than you. And then now you want to do it completely differently to the plan, which is like completely pointless. So don't make that mistake in life, guys. And I've done that before. Cost me money, cost me time, you know, said things to I'm like, well, I think we should just do it this way. And he'll say, all right, then fine, do it your way. And we'll do it my way. And I'll be like, oh, fuck, that was a waste of time. That was a waste of money. That didn't work out. And it's pretty obvious if someone's making more money than you and has the life that you want to live, it's not just money, but if they're living the life you want to live, most of the time you should just do what they say. Sure, it needs to be customized, which is why we have Q&A at the end of these calls. But in general, you should just do what they say. Don't come in with this closed off mindset of I already know what I'm doing. So number one, don't be the smartest person in the room if you want to have earning potential growth. And number two, don't come into the room and then keep trying to do things the way that you've already been doing them. So great points from Odjam. All right, let's jump into, we'll go Jordan. We've got Jordan, Martin, Brandon, and Bradley. And then we'll be wrapping up, guys. So if anybody does have anything to say, come up now or forever hold your peace. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, Josh. So some of what I've said's already been stated, but I'll just reemphasize a few of the points. One of the ones that really stood out to me was not to focus on not what they want, not what they don't want, but what is actually happening. I thought that was a very important shift to make because it's really easy when someone talks about what they don't want to think that's what they're getting, but it doesn't actually mean that. And it can be hypothetical pain, which you've talked about. That's not present pain, so not nearly as powerful. Second thing that I noticed, so I think Audrey, he talked about the power of context, which is why we gather the data so that you get more powerful answers on the back, because otherwise, I mean, as a prospect, you feel pretty stupid if you have that much data and then you give a very weak answer and response to it. But one of the other things I thought was pretty powerful was how you use contrast as well. So when you talked about the daughter specifically, how on one hand at home, she's peaceful, but when you're not there, she's, and I can't remember the exact word, but you know, frantic, the exact opposite of grumpy, right? The contrast is what adds significant power to that particular question. When you stated that, I thought that was pretty powerful. And then the last thing,
before you do the last one, let me just jump in on that. Imagine if you had a beautiful painting, guys, and it's a blue painting. So it's got all sorts of different turquoise and blue, and it's maybe this like abstract version of the sea. How beautiful is this painting? And then you put it on a wall in a house where all of the furniture and decoration of the house is also blue. It's like, well, it was a nice painting, but now it's just like blending into everything else that's blue, as opposed to you've got this beautiful blue painting and you put it on a white wall, or you put it on a red wall or a black wall. That's the whole point. Like the picture is not just the picture. The picture is beautiful or not beautiful, obvious, not obvious, based in contrast to the framing around the picture. So if someone says, my daughter's always a peaceful person, sounds like a very poetic statement, but so? Whereas it's very different. My daughter's always a peaceful person, but right now she's living always grumpy. Shit, that's pretty bad because of the contrast. Okay, great point.
Yeah.
What was your other point?
Yeah. So I just think for myself and other closers, when you add, and that's why you have to data gather, when you add context and contrast, if you're getting weak answers to why now, how much longer, you probably have no context or inaccurate context and contrast to be able to do that. And then the last thing that stood out to me was, I know you always say you don't get any objections, but if you do get an objection, you want to be able to have essentially their own words to just shoot right back at them so that it's effortless on the objection. So if that person would have said anything about wanting to stop trading or freeing up time another way, like any potential objection, you look at your notes and you're like, well, I mean, earlier you said this, now you're saying something else.
So how are you going to feel tomorrow when you step in the car, start driving, burst into tears, and know that your daughter's at home grumpy? I want to think about it. Excellent. Would you like to think about it when you're bawling your eyes out in the car tomorrow? Or would you like to get in the car tomorrow, which is going to happen in less than 12 hours, knowing that whether you cry or not, you are fixing and resolving the situation. What are you going to do? Like I could just take what she's saying and just handle the objection. And it's funny you said I don't get objections. I don't get objections, but sometimes like I don't get a whole 20-minute fucking reframing people, but sometimes they'll say I need to think about it. And my mind is like, no, you don't. So I don't view it as an objection. It's like, yeah, you just said that because you're a human being and it's just like a gut reaction. Then I'll just say something like I just said, so tomorrow you're willing to get in your car crying, not only crying because your daughter's not peaceful and she's now grumpy, but crying as well because you know today, right now in this moment, you didn't fix that situation. You actually backed down, you cowered it away, you let your fear run your decisions, and you chose to be selfish rather than caring and putting your daughter first. Is that genuinely what you're willing to do? And they'll be like, fuck, no. And all you're doing is just saying the truth. And it's not, and this is the difference between I'm telling the prospect what their situation is going to be tomorrow, their situation. I'm not saying that makes complete sense. Imagine that you're about to get on an airplane and we fucking go into a fucking airplane analogy. It's like, why are we talking about airplanes? Well, you go into one of the other pre-planned metaphors, ice cream trucks and fucking running bears and airplanes. And, well, do you need to think about it when you get on an airplane? She's like, I'm not going on an airplane tomorrow. As opposed to tomorrow, you're getting in your car and you're going to cry. That's what's going to happen. We're talking about you. We're not talking about airplanes. All right. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any more?
100% agree. No, I think that's the main thing. And if you think about like the way we make decisions as people, when you buy anything, your own mind is what eventually convinces you. So to add other reframes and things that don't come from your own mind might work, but typically no one's going to go do the airplane analogy and then do that to themselves. They're going to replay back, well, I don't want my daughter to suffer anymore. And so essentially we're just speeding up the process. So,
and let's just say worst case scenario, she doesn't buy, but we tried what I did. Tomorrow you're going to get in the car. You're going to be crying because your daughter's now not peaceful and she's grumpy, and crying also because you didn't fix it. Imagine the difference between that versus an airplane analogy in context to follow-up. She doesn't buy. I've done my attempt to objection handle. She doesn't do it. She gets in the car tomorrow and she starts crying. Not only when she starts crying is she going to think about her daughter, but she's going to think about me because I reminded her that she's going to cry tomorrow. And she's going to be in that car being like, this guy said that this was going to happen and then now it's fucking happening and I feel like shit. You know what? I'm just going to pull over the car or turn around and go home, text him and say, I'm ready to enroll. As opposed to you give an airplane analogy and it might be 6 months until she gets on a fucking airplane. And then she's like, oh yeah, well, I didn't think about how the airplane works. And then now I'm on an airplane, maybe I should buy that program. If you take their real situation, it's going to be relevant and it's going to mean worst case scenario. They don't need to follow up, or when they text you is going to be much quicker and much sooner and much more powerful because you were talking about their own situation as opposed to some hypothetical, next year she went on the beach and went and bought an ice cream for an ice cream truck and she saw a bear that came out the fucking forest and she's like, oh my God, which would I run faster from, the bear or the ice cream truck? She's not going to be thinking about that because it's not real. It's not a real scenario, guys. So anyway, all right.
Awesome.
Martin, what's going on?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Josh. Really great role play, and just in general, thank you for making sales way more fun.
It's my pleasure.
It's really, really impressive to see when you go this deep with your prospects, just seeing how they change on the call, just the feeling you have yourself after the call, seeing how the prospects follow up with you. Like just doing this role play right here, I have 3 leads reaching out to me saying they want to start.
Wow, amazing.
And I've had a lot of this in this month, just from an old leads, new leads, everyone follow up and coming with questions wanting to start. So just alone that, really appreciate it.
Love that.
My takeaway is the one where you talked about like striking while the iron is hot, and actually seeing this like how to get back to the process, because I've always felt that felt scripted. So where you're going down a lane and then the way to kind of get back on track and going back into the conversation, your standard procedure, as you called it, that things were like, fuck, that felt like I was going back to a script and all right, I had that question I knew up front, but in general, it's just like how to get a background to that in a natural way. So it doesn't feel like that. But because in general, it's just how it is, but it just felt very scripted.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And then just for the new people who were here and talk about how do they get this into first, you mentioned this, I think it was Friday or last Friday, where I said like just take the biggest takeaway from each training and implement that. I've been doing that the wrong way. I can be honest with that and saying like for the first, I think I've been here for 3 months now. The first 2.5 months, I've been watching way too much content, taking way too many notes and trying to put everything into learning at once and really going deep into that and watching content from morning to evening if I've not on calls. And after I think it was Faith that ran and discovered me and said I was trying too hard. After I let go of that, everything has just smoothed out for me. My calls are way better. I'm way more chill on the calls. I only focus on one piece of content a day. I get through what I get through, and everything has just worked out. And that one right there was just learn one thing a day is really, really important. I just heard massive action. And I have a grinder mindset in that way. So I was like, fuck, I just got to put in everything. But that was actually, I think I could have gotten way further if I hadn't done that.
Because people misunderstand what massive action means. Like, think of a pro athlete, guys. Massive action doesn't mean a pro athlete is on the court all day long drilling their dribbling skills or their shooting skills. It means that throughout the day, they're taking massive action, committed, dedicated, discerned choices on what the most important thing is right now. One moment, that might be hitting the weights, going to the gym, lifting weights. Next hour, it might be sitting there having a massage. The next hour, it might be going and doing dribbling practice. The next hour, it might be having a good, healthy meal and having a smoothie, hydrating. Each of those things are massive action in the thing that they need to be doing. It doesn't mean I'll go practicing in the gym or on the basketball court for 10 hours a day and get 4 hours sleep. That's not massive action, guys. That's stupidity. The difference is, you don't go and take 1 hour of sales training and then go and watch Netflix for 4 hours or go and take cocaine or drink alcohol or go and hang out with loser friends, because then you've done one positive and you've done a bunch of negatives. Massive action just means throughout the day is each of the things you're doing holistically improving you in a way that's sustainable. You can actually do this constantly. You can't constantly do 8 hours of sales training. Number one, you won't have enough time for calls. And number two, you'll be spending 8 hours to forget everything as opposed to spending 8 hours to actually implement. It's like, what's the maximum amount of time that you can spend to actually implement and execute what you're being given? And then what do you need to do with the rest of the time to backfill that time with other activities that are equally as powerful, but are not overdoing one specific type of action? So very important lesson, Martin. Great lesson.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
All right. Let's bring up Bradley. Oh, sorry, Brandon. I think it's Brandon. Yeah, Brandon. All right. What's up, Brandon?
Yeah. So the first takeaway I had, which is a really big one, is what you were saying about the missing 97K was really true to me. Of most of the time when you had like a big, hey, did you guys notice this thing? I didn't know the thing you're talking about. I thought it'd be something different. And having that feeling, I mean, yeah, I feel a little dumb, but it's also good to feel dumb because it's like, oh shit, there's so much more to learn.
100%, brother.
And beyond that, also what they're not, like, I'm not skinny, I'm not with my kid, versus I am away from my kid during the day, my kid is crying. That was a really big light bulb for me, because I'd been taking a lot of, I'm not this, I'm not that, this isn't happening, versus what's really going on.
100%. And a lot of these lessons tie into other categories. Like, for example, if you want to manifest something, you don't write down on a piece of paper, I want to not be broke. You're not going to manifest anything except being broke. You write down, I want to be rich. I want a Ferrari. I want a mansion. I want this. I want this. It's no different to when you're talking to your prospects. If you want to help your prospects manifest the life that they want to live, you can't get the thoughts in their head to be all the things they don't want. You have to direct their thoughts, be a leader through your questions to get them to think about what is going on. Right now, what is going on is this and this and this, and they need to face that reality. And by facing that reality at the end of the sales call, they can manifest a new reality by saying, this is what's going on. My kid's crying. I'm poor. I don't have this. I don't have this. I suffer with this. I have this anxiety. I have this bad emotion. And therefore, once you've got all that, you say to them, how much longer do you want to live like this? Another day, another week, another month. And they say not another day. And they can say not another day because they're being asked, how much longer do you want to actually continue choosing the reality that you have, as opposed to when would you like to make a decision about a hypothetical thing in the future that doesn't exist? Right. So we've always got to understand that the reason we ask that how much longer question is because the whole premise of a sales call is, let's talk about what's actually going on right now, and then ask you if you want to live another day like that. So beautiful takeaway, Brandon. Great stuff.
Yeah, because it's tangible to fix the problem, but it's not tangible of like, oh, how would it be to not be fat or to be not skinny?
Exactly. It's not tangible. I want to not be fat. Okay. So what's going on? Like the obvious thing is, so what's going on? Well, I'm fat. Define fat. How many pounds? Is fat being overweight physically, or is fat being overweight mentally and they're tired all the time? They're lethargic. They've got no energy. Is fat actually that they're 200 pounds overweight, or is fat that there's a very tiny specific area of their body where they are embarrassed when they're with their husband or boyfriend or girlfriend? What does fat mean to you? But we've got to get reality, not hypothetics. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right, final one from Bradley.
I got a question for you.
Oh, sorry, Brandon. Go for it. I just booted him off. Oops. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So
what's your question, brother?
Yeah. So right now I'm not taking that many calls, which I'm working on changing, but what can I do to maximize what I get out of other people's calls in the meantime?
What do you mean other people's calls? As in call
watching
reviews,
someone else's call or watching one of my old calls? Like, what can I do to maximize what I get out of that?
Sorry, say it again.
Yeah. So what can I do to maximize the value and the lessons I get from either my old calls or other people's calls?
Well, there's two things. Number one is your own calls, and number two is you could be role playing. I would recommend that you spend a bit more time role playing. If you've got extra time, you can do that. To get the most out of your calls, you want to be going through the call and reviewing it and going through the transcript on one side and then the actual video on the other side, because the transcript's going to allow you to see the words more clearly than hearing the words, and the video is going to allow you to see the body language. And the very basic, like what we were saying before about just stick to the basic things, don't overwhelm yourself. The first and foundational thing is to just put in the time to go through the call and see if there's anything you spot that you didn't spot the first time round. Oh, they said this. That's interesting. I didn't dig into that. Or they looked like they weren't really, present at that point in the call. I didn't notice that, because everyone's always looking to train on what to say and how to say it. And that's okay. It's better than nothing. But the thing that you should be training on is how to see things, how to not be a blind person, basically, in the big picture. Like, most people are on a sales call and they don't see 1% of what I see on a call or what UM sees. If there was like a 80-20 of what's going to give you the most value, it's learning to see, not learning to speak. It's learning to have awareness, not learning to have the ability to articulate yourself. Like, I can articulate myself okay now because I've been doing it for years, but the skill that I developed my first couple months that made me money was not being articulate. It was being able to see and hear things that was going deeper than most salespeople would go. So spend your time trying to spot those things and just work on that initially, and that will give you much more than trying to figure out what to say and how to say it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's not just like, why didn't the ball go in the hoop? It's what can I fix about the positioning when I shoot my three?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, having that spatial awareness of what's going on will be more important than being someone that can sink a three-pointer on an empty basketball court. It's like, well, it's pretty easy. I mean, this is the story of fucking, what's the three-point guru? I forget his name. Steph Curry. So apparently, read this in a book the other day, like, he was shit initially because when his first coach got a hold of him, he was amazing on an empty basketball court. But as soon as there was other people on the court, he was too pressurized. He couldn't do anything. So what they actually had to teach him to do was to run and to be like more comfortable on the court and to have more athleticism. He was great at shooting, but not when there was anybody else on the court. It's kind of the same. It's like you can see people that are very good with words, put them on a real sales call, and they're so good with words that they don't know what they're even supposed to be saying because they're not listening to the prospect. They're so pre-planned in what they're going to try and say that in a real case, real life scenario, they're useless. So yeah, try and work on your spatial awareness of seeing and hearing what's going on. And then I mean, you're not a 2-year-old. Like, you can talk. So everyone on this call knows how to speak. What you don't know is how to read people, because you don't get taught. Well, you learn how to read people as a child, and then you get deprogrammed from reading people with the matrix programming that teaches you to be stuck in your iPhone with no human to human interaction, told that, you know, this person, you can't say this about this person, you can't label this person this way, you can't judge this person this way. It's like, I'm not judging, I'm just reading people. There's so much matrix programming that teaches you to not read people, but there's nothing that teaches you to not be able to speak. Like, you know how to talk. So learn to be able to trust and read your thoughts and your feelings and your intuition, and then the words will just come out fine. Like, they're not going to be that bad that you ruin a call. What will ruin a call is not that you say the wrong thing in how you say it, it's that you say the wrong thing, that you were talking about something irrelevant. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great question, brother. All right. Final stuff from Bradley. What's going on?
Man, how you doing, Josh? First
Doing
things
amazing,
first.
brother. And yourself?
Great, man. Like, excellent role play as always. I feel like I have a light bulb moment like every 10 seconds. Honestly, Martin and Brandon kind of said the things that I was already going to say, so I'll just kind of reiterate real quick just so it sticks more in my mind. The striking while the iron is hot is big for me, because a lot of times my prospects, they're like serving up red flags in terms of ownership on a silver platter in front of me. And in my head, I'm like, okay, let me write that down. Let me remember it for later and keep it in my back pocket. Whereas now I realize it's actually more calibrated if you tackle that head on while it presents itself, because that's how a normal interaction between a human being without the context of it being a sales call would actually go.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is the timeline shifting and perspective shifting, because I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think the prospects are doing it consciously. Even Malik on the call, I don't think she even did it consciously.
Nope.
So it's about having that awareness so you can actually understand that they're doing it and then flip it into the current reality of the situation as opposed to something hypothetical. With that being said, I do have a question, because I understand the premise of, okay, if you're not making any money, say you're making like $4,000 a month, it is way more important for you to invest in something that's like $4,000 a month, so the probability of you being successful on it is greatly increased. That makes sense. How would I be able to translate that premise into a fitness offer, if that makes sense?
In the sense of, if still in context of they don't have much money, or what do you mean?
Like, okay, it's way more important for you to invest in something that is not necessarily more expensive, but would be way better for you in the long run, although it seems a little bit scary. Because it makes sense in terms of money. Like, you're making $3,000, so you need to invest in something that's way better.
If I'm understanding correctly, the context, if someone is super obese or super bad shape, it's more important for that person to invest 5,000 than someone that's in okay shape to invest 5,000. Because if you're super overweight, then like, you need more investment into this. That's the super overweight person is the same as the trader that's barely making any money, saying I'm barely making any money, so I can't spend a load of money. It's like, the fact that you're barely making any money is why you need to spend a lot of money on this to actually learn, as opposed to like the person that's like pretty good shape, that's like, I've got like a 4-pack and I want a 6-pack. Do they need to invest $10,000 in that? Maybe not. Maybe they just need, you know, a accountability coach. Whereas someone that's like 300 pounds, I wouldn't see it crazy as them investing $20,000 to get in shape. Is that what you're asking, like contextually?
Yeah, I think I was overthinking a little bit too much,
Okay.
perhaps. One more thing I want to say, last thing I'm going to say. I think what we do is really fucking cool. And I was talking to my girlfriend about this, but like, you can take an accountant and you could take like a computer science guy and they can master that area. Like, they can be an expert in that area. But we have that technical side that we have to take into consideration, but we also have to master and understand humans, which is way cooler than just being that nerd on the computer just typing all day. And understanding humans translates into so much more things in other areas of life than just mastering a lot of things that other people are mastering. So I just want to say that I think we're cool people as salespeople. So that's it.
I love that. And that's why they say, I forget the number, I think it's 80 to 90% of the richest people in the world always started in sales, but not the sales that we see in this generation. Like these are people from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where sales was about understanding humans and understanding human behavior. Now, I mean, in most sales trainings, it's nothing about humans. It's just about say this, say this, say this, say this at this time, say this with this tonality, say this in this order. It's like, you're not really going to learn anything about business, entrepreneurship, life, dating, yourself by doing that. Whereas if you do sales in the traditional way, which I love the way you phrase it, Bradley, is art and science. There's an art to it and there's a science to it. It's both at the same time. Even just the fact that something is a combination of art and science has so many translations to it that will help you in so many areas of life if you learn it this way. So powerful. Guys, one final thing to really hammer home this understanding humans in terms of the timeline shifting and positives versus negatives. I'm going to do a quick exercise with Bradley. So I want you to ask me questions to describe the home that I would like, the home I'd like to buy. So you're selling me a house. You can only ask one question about one thing. You can't ask a follow-up question. So you can ask about this part of the house and then this part and then this part, but you can't ask a second question. And I want you to show, I want to show you guys how impossible it is for Bradley to actually get any idea what I want if I answer in the way I'm going to answer. So off you go. Just ask me questions.
How big do you want the house to be?
Not small.
What color do you want it to be?
I would like it to be anything but black.
How many rooms do you want?
Well, you know, one day in the future, I'd love a house of like 25 rooms.
What's the location? What location do you want?
You see the point, guys? You're like, what fucking house do you want to buy?
It's fucking stupid.
You have no idea what I want to buy. I have to say right now, and the things that I want in the affirmative, not in the negative, and in the present, not in what I would like in the future. So flipping that the other way, that's what's going on when your prospects are talking to themselves in that way. They don't even have an idea of what they're thinking. Oh, my child is not at peace. Right. So what are you telling yourself your child is in terms of an emotional state? Do you have an idea? Oh, yeah, they're probably this way. And you have to lead them through that transition of the future into the present and the negatives into the positives, or the negatives into the affirmatives of what is, not what isn't, and what is right now, not what could be in the future. Okay, so it's a very, very important lesson. All right, folks, that is us for today. Obviously, we're on every single day this week. So have a wonderful rest of your day, guys, and I'll see all of you tomorrow. Later, guys. Bye. All right, another high-ticket sales training, role-play, mastery. I'm not going to go through all of the points in detail because we had a Q&A. You've seen the difference between objection handling at the end of a call, objection pre-handling versus spotting and handling objections as they come up naturally. You've seen the difference between reading from a script, memorizing scripted questions, and actually understanding humans. Understanding things like reality versus when someone says, I don't want it to be blank, that's not describing anything. Talking about the future, what they would like versus what is right now. These are the things you're never going to learn reading from a script. And these are the differences between making 10 or 20K a month and making $100,000 a month. We looked at being completely humbled. If you are in a situation where you're not constantly on a weekly basis thinking, holy shit, I didn't know any of that, then your earning potential is nothing. If you're in a situation on your current role plays in whatever training you're doing or lack of training, and you're walking around, Billy Big Balls, guy, girl, whatever you are, so not balls if you're a girl, excuse me, but you're basically walking around thinking, I've got it all figured out. Good for you that you don't plan on making any more money. Now, obviously, you're not watching these videos because you're that ridiculous that you don't want to make any more money. But if you're in that situation, you won't make any more money because the amount of money that you're about to make is based on how much humbled and humility you are being faced with on a regular basis. How much times do you sit there and go, holy shit, I didn't know any of that? If the answer is not often or not enough quantity of things that you didn't know, the gap in your income potential is tiny, if not insignificantly zero. Next one is getting always context and getting specifics. A lot of salespeople don't understand this because they're not even listening or looking for the context. They already have their pre-planned question. You saw in real time the difference between doing this. And then the final one was another one on objections. Instead of giving, analogies that are pre-planned that people are not even relating to, all you've got to do is have enough data and specifics to give a story, a metaphor, an analogy of what they're actually going to go through tomorrow, next week, or next month. And then just ask them, is this really what you're telling me that you're perfectly fine with happening tomorrow? And that's it. That's as complicated as objection handling goes if you master the discovery. So I'll say this. If you're about to join the mastermind right now, literally click off this video, click the link below the video and go and join. You don't have to listen to this next part. But if you don't plan right now on joining the mastermind and you've been watching my free content for days or weeks or months, you've implemented, you've gotten value, you've made more money, and you're still just sitting on the outside, on the sidelines, watching free content, what are you doing? You already know that being on the inside, getting access to these, in this case, we're doing a role play every single week, getting access to work with me directly, getting direct access to ask me questions, getting around other unicorns that are willing to be humbled so they can make more money is the thing that you need to do to take you to the next level. So the question is, knowing what you need to do and knowing that not doing it continues to lose you money every single day, how much longer are you willing to sit on the outside just watching free content when you know the next level of results is getting the next level of access to me, to my mentor, and to the members of the Unicorn Closer Mastermind to align yourself with? If the answer is you are ready to make that leap, join the mastermind and actually make more money, then click the link below this video right now, enroll, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.